Hello, everyone, and welcome to the P1 Broadcasting Network. It's Murph. It's Sam, and you know what that means. It's an AMA Thursday night here at P1 Broadcasting. We've got the Black Magic Studios Grand National Series live from the New Atlanta. We're set to bring you 250 miles of action-packed Xfinity action, Sam. There's a giant peach in the logo, but as I understand it, the car tonight does not handle like a peach. It is pretty darn loose from what I understand. And some of these drivers are going to have their hands full, especially at a track like Atlanta, where it's a 1.5 mile restrictor plate race.
You're exactly right. It's going to be a handful, and there's going to be some angry personalities tonight. When you've got a track that is blistering hot like this Atlanta in this Georgia heat, it's 135 degrees in practice. When you've got a track this hot with a car with a suspension like this Xfinity car, it has the makings of everything that is going to make the dough rise in all these guys. So it's going to be interesting to see how things play out.
I like how you put that, Sam. Make the dough rise in all of these guys. I'll tell you what's going to rise is that temperature. Hopefully it doesn't rise anymore, because 135 is hot. And you definitely don't want it to be that hot, because Sam is exactly right. These cars do not have very much grip. And a lack of grip is kind of what Atlanta is all about. In the late 1950s, the first Georgia Securities Corporation, they wanted to build a track that rivaled the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in Atlanta. That didn't work. There was an attempt made in the 1960s. The track got built. It originally looked, Sam, much like Homestead does today. Short straightaways, very long, very wide, very fast sweeping corners. And then in the late 90s, Bruton Smith, he transformed this place into a quad oval reminiscent of Charlotte. The track, as it was built then, was one of the fastest on the speedway. I can remember laps here on the quad oval when it was newly paved, Sam, that approached 200 miles an hour.
Oh, the speeds of a freshly paved Atlanta were breathtaking, especially no more wide than this racetrack is. And you're going to find tonight that there's not a lot of room to make a mistake under these conditions. But this configuration has just changed the whole complexity of racing in the Xfinity Series as a whole, because these cars are, as you said earlier, they are not very conducive about their handling characteristics. In conditions like this, it's gonna demand a lot of these drivers to race in close quarters and to be able to make good decisions without jeopardizing the other drivers of the field. It's the Georgia heat has played a factor in any area of sport, whether it be football, golf, at the Masters, football in the SEC, or racing in the NASCAR series in any level. The heat in Georgia is nothing short of devastating sometimes when it comes to sports.
Yeah, there's a reason that the Braves play most of their home games at night, and that's not because of TBS and Ted Turner. There's also a reason why the Atlanta Falcons play in a dome. It's extremely hot. The other thing that people don't realize about Atlanta, if you're not from the area and you don't go through there very often, you might be from the Midwest or out on the West Coast, Atlanta is at elevation. You may not know this or not, and it's actually an interesting trivia question, Sam. Everybody knows the Colorado Rockies play at an elevation of 5,280 feet, right? Mile High Stadium, the famous stripe in the stadium seats where you're a mile above sea level. You know what the second highest elevated major league city is?
If you say Atlanta, that's interesting.
It's Atlanta, Georgia. And people don't realize Atlanta, Georgia is built in the foothills of the Smoky Mountains. And you have to drive through those mountains to get to Atlanta if you're coming from the north, especially. The song in Smokey and the Bandit where they mentioned Mont Eagle. I've been up and down that mountain 4 or 5 times a year since I was a little boy going to Florida. And so you have to go through very mountainous terrain to get to Atlanta, coming from the north through Tennessee especially. And it is in the foothills. It is the second highest elevated major league city, and a lot of people don't realize that. And so, that has an effect as well, right? There's just not as much air to produce downforce on these machines. It's thinner, Sam.
And really, that's an interesting fact to kind of prove the point about what to expect tonight. Before this last configuration where they built the track to be more of a super speedway type racetrack, the challenge of this track, and the last configuration was by far my favorite configuration.
Without a doubt.
The challenge of racing on that other surface was which resembled so much of tracks like Rockingham and Darlington that are just so weather beaten by the sun and the heat, and it would really spread the cars out and just separate the men from the boys as far as drivers are concerned. But when you get into this super speedway type setting and the close quarters that these drivers are going to be in these particular races, and the draft is so much more important, then you throw in a track that is slowly becoming more and more weathered by the heat. It really sets a recipe for something that you are not 100% really knowing what's going to happen, whether it's going to be the kind of race where everyone's respectful and they're going to race and they're going to give each other a little bit of room, or if it's just going to be Katie bar the door and I'm going to get to the front, whatever it takes. Or it could just be a disaster where no one can get any grip. It really can be a mixed bag. And really, if you think about these AMA drivers, I've always tried to be very pessimistic when it comes to these AMA drivers, and really think that they can pull out the best product here.
You know, I'll give you 3 guesses, Sam. Speaking of the best product, I'll give you 3 guesses as to who the fastest driver in practice was today at Atlanta.
Let me go back and look at my notes. No, I'm kidding.
It's Ryan O'Donohue is the fastest in practice. We are ready for qualifying, and we're going to get on board. We're going to get on board with Troy Carricker as he heads out on his qualification lap. There's Troy, and
Troy has been showing so much promise these past weeks, man. He has really just picked up his game. He's really showing a lot of potential in this series. Just kudos to Troy for really working on his craft.
Absolutely. So there's Troy Carricker. He's coming off of turn number 4 down the front straightaway as he sees it going through the second end, the second part of the double dog leg, the quad oval, as it were, down through turn 1, right on that red line, Sam.
As much as he can get it, a lot of people are not aware, and some drivers don't even realize, you can touch that first white line. It is still on the banking. And like you said, the red line would be, it's red for a reason. It's a warning to let you know that you're really getting in trouble. But the bottom is really the fast on qualifying here. And I did not listen to the drivers' meeting to see if they could cut the course during qualifying, but typically most leagues will not allow that.
Yeah, they're not going to allow it here. You got to stay above the red line at all times. It's that line is red for a reason, just as it is in real life. Troy Carricker on the provisional pole at the moment. We're going to watch his second lap. Theoretically, Sam, this should be slightly faster.
It should be a little bit faster here at this particular track because of the length of the track. You want to make sure that you can build up as much momentum as you can. But his high entry there into 3, I'm really wondering if he's going to pull it off. But
well, 32.5.
And he did a full 10th by Troy Carricker, a full 10th faster that time by.
Yes, he did. Here's another one, another driver that we'll keep an eye on, Brian Sharp in the 125 Blackmagic
Welcome
Studios.
back, Brian Sharp.
That's right. He was at Pocono. He was our in real life reporter. David Dunwoody goes to the pole position. Brian Sharp was our P1 reporter at Pocono. He said he's sunburned. His liver does not like him, but he had a great time, Sam, and that's all that matters, right? Very loose for Brian Sharp.
Isn't that a misnomer? Your liver doesn't like you. You're really bad sunburn. It's a misnomer to say that it was a good time.
Usually those are the best of times. Brian Sharp on
it's
the
like
bottom.
Jumbo shrimp is a misnomer.
Now, Sharp, you'll notice he is not keeping as tight. He did not keep as tight of a line.
He's got a lot of wheel movement in his car. He really has a lot of wheel movement, and on these particular tracks, keeping that wheel as steady as you can is one of the most critical parts of getting good lap times.
Yes, it is. There's Colby Pierce. He's winding it up in the high side. Colby Pierce going to come down to start his first lap, and I think Colby's going to take a bit of a different tack. He is going to go all the way up against the wall on that first.
He's building momentum.
Yeah, now he's just now sneaking it to the bottom. Wonderful pictures here provided by Whiplash SimCams. Do want to thank everybody in the audience. We've already got a big one. Keep those chats coming. Make sure you hit the like button on the video. Ring the bell to subscribe to the P1 Broadcasting Network. Watching Colby Pierce work lap number 1 in the No Pass Media Blackmagic Studios special. And he does cut the course.
He does.
Okay, so Colby Pierce, he did cut the course. 30.
But the time was not allowed.
No, the time was not allowed, and it was 33.
The time was not allowed.
Well, and the time was 33 flat anyway, Sam. It wasn't fast enough. It was 20-second quick. We'll see what he does here on the third lap.
Oh, okay. Right.
On the second lap.
Let's see if he cuts it again here. And he will.
He does indeed. All the way down to the bottom, Colby Pierce. That one, 32.621. That's going to put him 14th.
Bumped him up just a little bit.
Yeah, so whatever it was, it didn't get him a whole bunch of time.
Well, he was faster in his time, but cutting the racetrack. I thought we were under the impression that wasn't going to be.
Now some leagues will allow
lap.
it in. Well, some leagues will allow it just because it's very difficult to police it, and so some leagues will allow it. We've got Logan Edwards checking in the chat. Red flag is out, so qualifications are over. David Dunwoody, is going to have himself the pole position.
Right, Trevor Benz will not get his lap in. He is on the racetrack, so he will not get his lap in.
He did not. You got to get out there. You got to get him in during that 5-minute period.
Congratulations to David Dunwoody.
Yes, sir. David Dunwoody, the head man at Blackmagic Studios. He's going to start on the pole. He'll have Greg Evans right alongside of him. Shocked to see Greg Evans up front. Shocked, Sam. Michael Moquin, Ryan O'Donohue. They're going to be.
Must have threw the cigarette butt out the window or something.
Who knows, right?
Greg. Yeah, Greg.
Yeah. Michael Moquin, Ryan O'Donohue. That is a David Pearson move right there. Moquin and O'Donohue are going to be row 2. Troy Carricker, Jason Mahaney are going to be 5th and 6th. Vance Fisher, James Hodgson, 7th and 8th. Rick Falls, how about that? Ricky D. He's going to start 9th in the Marty Robbins special. Joseph Klein, he'll qualify 10th. In 11th, Caleb Jones, Edwin James is going to be 12th. Kendall Paul, John Hutchins will make up the 7th row. They'll be followed by Colby Pierce and Lee Campbell, 15th and 16th. Corey Palermo and Donald Green, 17th and 18th. Corey Crandall, Barry Seaman will round out the front 20 and 21st. Well, we're going to hope he avoids the trees, race fans. That's Brian Sharp in 21st. Brian Wasserman will start 22nd. Mark Owlett, 23rd. Michael Kirk, 24th. Keith Graham, 25th. How about Sean Merriman, Trevor Benz, Justin Osterman, Dylan Godness, and Eric Quarter to round out a 30-car field? We've got some Vance Fisher fans in here. Donald Green has joined us. We've got Kyle Heath in the crowd. Bearing Sim Racing says it's extremely loose to pray for him. The good news, boys, the good news for these guys and gals and everybody watching this, Sam, they can relax a little bit. The sun.
Well, this is it on the paddock area. This is it. This is the only time you're going to be able to relax. So you might as well hold on. I'm really shocked right now that we see drivers like Mr. Excitement, Justin Osterman in the back, Dylan Godnez, who's been a front runner most of the season this year. He's in the back. They did not even put a qualifying time in, which may signify. It may signify a strategy on their part, because some drivers at these speedway races, they don't want to race in the pack. They would rather dictate missing things if it happens in front of them, and they'll just ride in the back for a while, at least until after the stage break. So there could be some strategy already playing out here.
It could be, and I do want to point out, Sam, It was hot for practice, 135 degrees track temp.
Yeah, it's really cooled down a lot now.
Yeah, the sun has gone down. The lights are on. We're fixing to see a racy Speedway, 87 degrees track temp to start this one. And from what I understand, that is only going to get cooler. But we've got the front of the field set and ready to go behind the pace car driver. It's going to duck on off. And Sam, we're getting ready to go AMA racing, my friends.
Oh, buckle up, folks. It's going to get interesting here, especially with a cooler racetrack. So these guys are going to have a little bit of grip to work with. But let's make sure that we root them on to make good decisions tonight. So we're going to make sure that we're giving you all the action here at P1 Broadcasting.
There we go. They made it safely across the line. David Dunwoody leads them down into turn one. Everybody safely through turn one. The cars are streaming off of pit road. That is Campbell and Palermo with penalties. So they started from the pit lane. Everybody through 1 and 2. Clean and green, but they look 2 by 2, Sam, just like the start of this race.
Yes, sir. What we've been seeing here at the AMA and these Xfinity or these Grand National races is we've been seeing that the drivers have been really mindful of the first stage. As I say that, someone's looking 3 wide. Oh, we got one in the wall.
I don't know that he hit it.
So close.
I don't know that he hit it.
If
Sam.
he didn't hit it, he sure did get a little taste of the paint or smell from the paint off the wall. That's for sure. Usually, what we've seen the first stages, Mark, have typically been pretty tame. These drivers are wanting to get through the first stage and collect as many points as they can and then race the last 2 stages, so that we could very well be seeing some of that right now.
You know, we most certainly could. We see David Dunwoody. He's going to get it single file. He's got a push from Michael Moquin on the top line. That's Greg Evans, and he's got Jason Heaney lined up right behind him. Heaney sets the fastest lap of the race. That doesn't really mean all that much, though, here, does it, Sam?
No, sir, it really doesn't, because cars in the back of the field are going to be able to take advantage of this draft and make big runs, especially if they're trying to catch the pack. I noticed that you were talking about Michael Moquin giving a push here. Michael Moquin, when it comes to speedway racing, you just have to call Michael Moquin the specialist, because that's really where he shines, is at some of these speedway races. I'm not surprised to see him up there. However, you're right. You're going to see drivers that are going to be able to pull quick times that are going to be back in the pack, especially if they're getting a good push by someone behind them. So as they spread out, you could see that fast lap change often.
You most certainly could. It's also important to note, fans, that we're going to have 3 stages here at Atlanta. It's 163 lapper. We're going to have a caution at 45 and a caution at 90. And so just as it always is, you're going to have drivers just kind of feeling out what they got, feeling like what the racing is going to be like. And we see Michael Moquin. He's feeling some speed. He's got a push from Greg Evans. Moquin, he's going to take the lead off of Dunwoody as they head through turns 1 and 2 and down the back.
Whoa, we got a car on the bottom. Apron.
Car on the bottom.
Saves it.
It's Donald Green.
What a save.
That is a heck of a save. It is Donald Green. And let's see if...
It looks like, yeah, he just gets off 2 there and just gets in that middle lane, and the back of the car just gets a little bit free, and he's able to save it and just keep racing. He just catches in onto the back of the field there.
Yes, he does. Here it is off of 2. And there you see that car step out, and that's really easy to do. On that bottom line, you get some heat in the right rear, and there she goes. Donald Green, he does a masterful job of saving that car, and it doesn't appear as though he's going to lose. Well, he does lose the draft. I was hoping for a moment.
Yeah, I was going to say, it looks like he fell back out of it, yeah.
I was hoping for Donald's sake that he did not. And that's going to mean, fans, what the draft means. When you see a gap like this, it means that you're looking at losing about 1.3 seconds per lap. It's significant, yeah.
It is.
Back to the front of the field, we've got Shelby Carricker with us. Great to have you, Shelby. Thank you so much for joining us on the P1 Broadcasting Network, and thank you for the sticker.
You're too kind, Shelby. We're so glad to have you back with us tonight.
We are indeed, and our man Troy, he's fifth. He's 3rd on the bottom line. The front row is Michael Moquin, Greg Evans. The second row, Jason Heaney and David Dunwoody. Now Dunwoody slides down in front of Carricker.
Big push there. Big push on Moquin, and Moquin has a handful of the car.
Yes, he did. Dunwoody incident.
we've got one on the apron in turn 4. He's sideways. He saved it again. Another great save by someone else.
That's
drivers have got a handful of these cars already.
That's Barry Seaman in the 55 was the slow automobile. Here's Barry going through turns number 3 and 4, and just like Donald Green, it broke loose with him. Barry Seaman does a heck of a job to save that Camaro. Man, it tried to wreck with him.
Oh yeah, no, he was back and forth on that wheel, saw him back and forth, and was able to. Now, a lot of times, drivers, if they're really mindful of where the car is in those conditions, they can use the apron to help kind of right the car, and that's what you saw there with Barry Seaman. He was trying to use the flat part of the track to try and get the car righted, and so it was just good driving on his part.
Yes, it most certainly was. Greg Evans is the leader of the train. He's on the high side. He's got help from Jason Heaney. James Hodgson has pulled the number 88 into third in line on the top. You've got Moquin, Dunwoody, and Carricker on the bottom. That's your top 6, and that's about the space between them. Joseph Klein, Edwin James have moved into 7th and 8th, 2 by 2, just like the start of this race. Now you see Ryan O'Donohue and Corey Crandall, that's 9th and 10th, as they pop into the picture. Michael Moquin, though, Sam, he's going to start playing both sides of the street.
I don't see Michael Moquin doing anything outside of what you're watching right now. Michael he likes to get his car up front at these tracks, and he likes to stay. Oh, and there another one gets close to the wall. Now they're 3 wide coming across the start-finish line. It looks like everyone's going to get it sorted out. That was Edwin, or is that Godwin? Yes, that's exactly who that was.
Logan Edwards checked in, by the way. He said he said this looks like fun. He likes pack racing, but only when he has bumpers. Logan Edwards, of course, he's won in the AMA Blackmagic Studios Grand National Series. He's won in the Archway Industrial Coatings Truck Series. He's won in the Indy Cars on our channel. Logan Edwards, a jack of all trades, sitting it out tonight, watching it on the television. But yes, this is definitely
utility.
Yeah, it's going to be a pack race for a while. Now, typically what Atlanta will do, it's a lot like Las Vegas, Sam, where you can run like this for 25 laps or so. After that, the tires, especially the right front or the right rear, depending on how you drive it, well, they start to heat up. And as they heat up, Sam, that pack will start to fragment a little bit. But until...
Right, because the characteristics of the car changes so much. The car, it'll get so out of shape on them. Some drivers will just have to back out in order to be able to drive the car. So you're exactly right. 20 laps at tracks that wear on your tires like Atlanta does, it really does make a difference. But we see Michael Moquin get a push and just get completely wobbly there on the backstretch going into turn 3. We're on lap 14 and we're already starting to see the effect of what you were talking about, Mark.
Yeah, and the other part of that is the bumpers on these cars do match up, but unfortunately you can get a push. It's just like Daytona, Talladega. You can get a push in the wrong place. We're seeing a car go very high through turns 1 and 2. I believe that's going to be that might have been the 73 of Vance Fisher, just trying to get himself out of the way. He's going to drop back to the nose of Brian Sharp there on the outside. And Vance having a good day. He is 12th. On the afternoon, he's got Edwin James right behind him, and we know the quality of that Edwin James machine. But really, you've got the top 10 under a blanket. Corey Crandall, very loose, coming off of turn 2. He might have got a piece of the wall, Sam.
I would be surprised if we see several drivers get a piece of the wall. If we're talking about Darlington stripes, what do you call it here in Atlanta? The Atlanta bow tie? What are you going to have to call it when these drivers are coming off of turns 2 and turns 4? And turn 2 really can come at you fast when these cars start getting out of shape.
Well, I mean, they referred to
just a moment ago. It was Edwin James who was trying to get out. Yeah, it was Edwin James actually went that swung wide up toward the wall. I misspoke a little while ago, so I want to make sure that he gets recognition for his fine piece of driving tonight.
You know, somebody who's fallen back in this field, and one of the few drivers that's done it. Ryan O'Donohue started up front. He was the fastest in practice. The one-armed bandits dropped it back to 19th. Now he's 20th. He is going backwards, and that can be, Sam, nothing but strategic.
Yes, sir.
I would fully expect that Ryan O'Donohue took one look at the racing up there, and he said, I believe I'll have a pass on that. He's going to go to the back and save that race car for the end of this event.
There are drivers, too, that will actually fall back in the pack, and then late in the stage, they may try to make a move because they've been saving tire. They've actually just been working to be smooth with the wheel, a consistent line, and then just maybe make a move toward the front late in the run to see if they can get any bonus points.
There you go.
Now we see the top 8, maybe 9 cars are starting to make a little space between 10th place.
Yeah, they are.
You can see separation in these races. It is not unusual to see separation after the wear begins to get on these tires.
It most certainly isn't, and Logan Edwards raises a great point. It's kind of like an old school pre-plate super speedway race where they'll be on top of each other for a while, but then once the tires start to heat up and the handling on the race cars becomes apparent, you would always see the fast guys be able to drive away a little bit, and that's kind of what's happening.
We got one in the wall, one in the wall. Oh, and they're 3 wide behind him. Oh, and he's in the wall again coming off of turn 4.
That's Michael Kirk in the 54. He's on the outside. Edwin James. He's got Rick D and the 09 of Keith Graham behind him. And you just see him. He almost like he gets arrow tight there, Sam. Gets up in the wall. Everybody does a marvelous job of avoiding him. And thankfully, there's no net code there either. That could have been, with the closing rates in the sim, pretty horrific. But, excuse me, they're all going to get away with it.
Speaking of net code, I just want to say how utterly hurt I am for John Hutchins. John Hutchins had some kind of failure to the server, and he's out of the race at the moment. And he was actually one of my dark horse picks tonight. But and now we have some activity on the track.
Yeah, Kendall Paul very slow. We've got Corey Crandall. We got Corey Crandall with a meatball, and so we need to go back and understand. Whoa, there's the action. We need to come back a little bit.
No caution on the speedway, and we have cars spread out all over the racetrack.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that can happen on these big super speedways like this, especially here, Daytona and Talladega. It does not mark the out of bounds areas for cautions. And there you see Sean Merriman got loose, got on the apron, into Crandall, into Sharp, Kendall Paul involved. Now Merriman's going to spin down nowhere for Rick D. Fallis to go. He's going to get spun. But those cars are all out of bounds.
Oh, no. Brian Sharp, Kendall Paul, Rick D. got a piece of that.
Yes, he did. My point being, and here we come. There's more contact from the back. That's Mark Owlett. He gets into
the back of Brian Sharp.
Yeah, Corey Crandall hits it again. Cars all over the racetrack, but all of that happened out of bounds. And at the super speedways, that area that's out of bounds, Sam, it won't trigger a caution.
It will not. Once the cars are off the racing surface and pointing in the right direction, it will not throw a caution at that particular juncture.
No, and so because
Corey Crandall's car is so destroyed, he cannot even steer the car off the infield or the pit road wall. He's having a terrible time trying to get the car to pit road.
Yes, he is. He's finally got it. Well, he's finally punched out of it. Brian Sharp has done same. Mark Owlett has done same. But what this has done, the top eight here are under a blanket. So this is Moquin from Evans, Dunwoody, Carricker, Heaney, Benz, Hodgson, Joseph Klein. They have a group. Let's go back here to Edwin James.
Oh, there we're in that little window where the cars are getting extremely loose. Jason Heaney.
Well, there goes.
Oh, and now we see Moquin. Moquin is completely out of shape.
Now that's a heart attack and a half if you're David.
Oh, they're 3 wide. They're 3 wide. It's not over yet. We're not done yet. Oh, and they've settled down. Oh, as they go into 1 and 2. I just knew something else was going to happen right there.
I couldn't get to the cameras fast enough, Sam. I wanted to get on the roll bar at Dunwoody, and by the time I got there, the action had passed to Troy Character. Yeah.
More activity.
Yeah, activity is right. Dunwoody and Carricker are not the beneficiaries of that action from Michael Moquin. Moquin drops to third, Dunwoody to seventh, Carricker to sixth. They're going to have to fight their way back up. But you're right, Sam. The handling is started to show itself. And as that comes to the fore, let's watch Greg Evans. He's going to go around the automobile of John Hutchins as it comes back out onto the
just
speedway.
Reconnected. Yeah, John just got reattached to the server.
And there's what it looks behind Greg Evans. So you saw out the front, pretty view. How about looking behind him? Whoa, Moquin loose again.
Oh, Moquin is sideways. He's almost stopped on the racetrack. He goes down to the apron. No caution.
No.
Again, no caution.
Well, let's see what happened here. He's in the sucker hole in the middle, 3 wide. He's got James Hodgson to the top. He's got Joseph Klein to the bottom. And that car just went around by itself, Sam.
He's had a handful of that car for most of the evening.
What I want to know is how James Hodgson fit between him and the wall. There wasn't a sheet of paper you could have fit in between either Moquin or the fence. Somehow James Hodgson doesn't hit anything. Moquin, he's gonna keep on hauling, but nearly a half a lap down here. As I had gone to say it, the front 8 are together, and there they are. You've got Colby Pierce leading this kind of second group now. Brian Wasserman, Keith Graham, Vance Fisher, Caleb Jones is in this group. Ryan O'Donohue is there. And then you've got another kind of a little break to Michael Kirk, Rick D., Sean Merriman, Kendall Paul, and others that are really, those cars were bent up in the first accident. And Sam, they're just trying to make it right now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
They're just trying to make it.
Begging for either a caution or the first stage.
They are. James Hodgson has a black flag. And here's what happened to James. I'll bet you he's going to spin down pit road, Sam.
Yes, if they pass that call on the exit of pit road, then it constitutes a unsafe pit entry, and they will get penalized for that.
In addition to speeding on pit road, I might add. So Hodgson, he's gonna have a penalty for that. It's a double whammy. You get loose, you spin the car out, and now you've got to sit in the pits for 48 seconds. So Hodgson. I'd imagine he has some colorful language for the officials. Hopefully they are not Muppets or Blimies or whatever else he calls them. Anyway, but this is that second group. And then you've got Barry Seaman by himself in 20th. You've got Lee Campbell. He's got Corey Palermo and Donald Green with him. These guys are just staying out of trouble. They're 26, 27 seconds off the lead. They're not in danger, Sam, I don't think, of going a lap down. But they're just hanging out. Meanwhile, the guys at the front have decided discretion is the better part of valor.
Right.
They've
decided that racing on these tires is not the most ideal thing to do right now.
No, and so they've got it single file. Greg Evans has the lead. Dunwoody, Carricker, Heaney, and Benz the top 5. Then Joseph Klein and Edwin James make up the remainder of that draft, and they are 8.5 seconds clear of Colby Pierce. This is going to be the battle to decide the stage unless something wild happens, Sam.
And again, just a really big shout out to Troy Carricker. There he is again. Like I said in the pre-race, Troy has really been up in his game lately, and he's working on his craft, and he's just been running up front a lot more. And so, kudos to Troy and all the leaders that were able to avoid a lot of the catastrophes that have been heading on right now. And I really feel bad, in incidents. Now, when you race in iRacing and you run into situations where there is no caution and there's these big incidences like that, I will tell you nothing makes your blood boil more than that particular issue. Because you're just begging, when you see cars on the apron, cars in the wall, cars wrecked in front of you, but they're going slow and straight, and there's no caution, man, it infuriates a driver because they're thinking, I've lost all this track position, I've lost all this time, and I could go down a lap. It's just it gets in your head, whether you like it or not. In iRacing, sometimes it just really bothers you.
It can, and that's something that everybody needs to overcome. Right on the roof of Joseph Klein here. Something else to consider, Sam, is all that hard racing with these guys on top of each other. It's likely overheated some of them, and so they might be backing out and just kind of riding around. You know what? Trying to cool their stuff off. Wagner says he's lost his mind, buddy. You did that a long time ago. Logan says he's excited for Lime Rock tomorrow. I bet he is. Do want to thank our wonderful fans out there at P1. Make sure you hit the like button on the video, ring the bell to subscribe to the channel. You can send us super chats and stickers if you like, and we do appreciate all of those things. Sam and I do. Keep the chats coming. If you'd like your question answered on the air, all you got to do is let us know. Joseph Klein down below the red line, Sam.
And now Evans goes down as he gets a little bump from behind here from David Dunwoody, and so now he straightens it out. Everything's sorted out as they begin to catch Corey Palermo there, and now that will be Corey will actually go a lap down, and he will be the lucky dog recipient. Corey Crandall. Or no, I was right. That's Palermo. Yeah, Corey Palermo. So he will be sitting in the lucky dog spot. If he just latches himself onto this group, he should be in a good position to get his lap back.
Which he's going to do. Corey Palermo. We've got caution.
Is the next one on the hit list as far as positions.
Well, we're going to have caution.
Green.
We've got caution, Sam.
Oh, we do.
We've got caution. Michael Kirk, Kendall Paul involved. Whoa. Okay. So let's start here and see what we can see. Vance Fisher has a meatball, has the meatball, as does Michael Kirk. And so we're looking at Vance Fisher here. He's riding along behind the 57 machine.
Instead of following the contour, of the quad oval there, Vance kind of drifts up into Michael Kirk's line. You would think he would be following the car in front of him, but if you look carefully, it looks like he just drifts up a little bit. Michael Kirk is there on the outside of him.
Yeah,
What kind of impact was that? I mean, that's like
hard.
Crash test.
That's something you hope you never see in real life. That's what that is.
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna replay this.
Was insane. And poor Rick D. Nowhere
to
go for Rick D.
I'm gonna replay this. Kendall Paul with the black flag. Kirk and Fisher with meatballs. Rick D. has punched out. But watch from on board Michael Kirk. I think that might have been. We'll let the fans at home judge that one. Of course, we are not officials. Nobody wants me to be an official, Sam. It is kind of funny as we go around here. We'll try to. Are we going to make this the stage break? Do we know?
I have not heard. The pits have not been closed yet.
Gotcha. So we'll stand by. I do have a funny story about me being made an admin, Sam. You'll appreciate this one. We're looking at 41 of 163. Do want to thank all of the sponsors in the AMA Blackmagic Studios Grand National Series. Of course, Blackmagic Studios, the series sponsor, Archway Industrial Coatings, Admin Box Track Racer, and Rogue Energy. If you need a shot energy, go to rogueenergy.com. Use the code AMA24, get 10% off your order. So that's a nice little perk for all the gamers out there. If you'd like some refreshments, Sam, you a fan of the energy drinks, or you like me? You stick to strong coffee.
I do drink. In fact, I have a cup of coffee right here with me right now. I'm not a big fan of drinking energy drinks. I do think that they are, as far as marketing goes, I think the energy drinks do some of the best marketing in the industry, because just simply for their labeling and getting the word out about their product and things like that.
You know, that's very fair. Thank you so much, Trey Smith, Wyatt Fisher joining us, Robert Rogers. The debate rages on who caused that last accident. We leave it up to the fans and leave it up to the officials. I got a message from the admins of the Dark Horse Racing Series as we get ready to come back to green a couple of nights ago. Sam, they've made me an admin in the Dark Horse IndyCar series, and my response was, I do not accept this responsibility and will use it unwisely. So there you go, Sam.
Disclaimer received.
I do not accept the responsibility and will use it unwisely. And they did not retract the responsibility, so I guess I'm an admin now. But anyway, kudos to those guys. That's a heck of a deal. You've got cooperation on the IndyCar side. The Dark Horse DW12 Series, the Votive IndyCar Oval Series, they're agreeing to share Sunday nights on P1, and that's a huge thing. Check them out when you get the chance. Barney's got the green flag in the air, and we're going to have a trophy dash to see who gets these stage points. And this is going to be fun. Greg Evans is going to get the jump. David Dunwoody is second. Dunwoody's got help from Trevor Benz. Troy Carricker is on the bottom. Now Dunwoody drops in behind Greg Evans. This is going to be interesting, Sam.
I was trying to catch up on some of the in-race communications that are going on tonight. So there's just a lot of chatter among the drivers just about rules and placement and different things like that. So just nothing necessarily about the incidences that we've had, other than just sorry about bumps and things like that. But for the in-race chat, I was trying to get caught up on that.
Yeah, no worries, Sam. Greg Evans.
Now the pit lane has been closed as we're getting close to the end of the stage.
All right, so we're going to have a stage. It's Evans on the bottom, Dunwoody on the top, Carricker, Heaney, the two pushers on the bottom. Dunwoody, he's got help from Klein and Colby Pierce. Michael Moquins also is up there, but we've got three well-organized on the bottom, and they're just about as well-organized on the top. Now Carricker sideways. Troy Carricker is wrecking. Troy Carricker sideways on the bottom. He saves the car.
He rights the car. He rights it.
He did well.
Oh, until the back of the pack catches him. He was not under speed. And now we're still not under caution yet.
No, we still haven't had the caution. We're going to get back to the front of this battle. Tough break for Troy Carricker. Now they're 2x2. Dunwoody with help from Colby Pierce on the top. Evans and Joseph Kleiner on the bottom.
And that's going to be our stage there. As Vance Fisher.
Now there's the caution.
Back into the garage area.
There's the caution, and there was contact there too between Dunwoody and Evans. So Greg Evans will take the stage. To answer the question about Vance Fisher, yes, he has punched out. That car does have a meatball, as does Michael Kirk, as does Troy Carricker, and finally Edwin James also with the meatball. And they're going to need to serve those meatballs under the stage caution, which if you're going to get the meatball, Sam, the stage break is probably the best time to do it, wouldn't you think?
It's one of the few saving graces that you actually get when you get that meatball flag, is so that you can get into the pit area and trying to get some reparations done, at least maybe to finish out the race and get as many laps as you can into the event and points.
Very good. With that said, we shall return after these commercials.
Michael Kirk has now taken his car back to the garage area, and his night is done.
Yeah, he had damage from that earlier situation.
Yeah, he was involved, right? He was involved in that earlier incident.
Very good. And we will return right after these commercial messages. And we're back with live pictures here from the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Sean Merriman and Caleb Jones did not pit. They came in under the prior caution, Sam, so they're going to take positions 1 and 2. Michael Moquin is the leader off of pit road. Moquin, Heaney, Campbell, Palermo, Greg Evans, David Dunwoody, Joseph Klein, Colby Pierce are the top 10. Then Benz Wasserman, Ryan O'Donohue, Eric Corder, Donald Green, Justin Osterman, and Keith Graham. Mark Kendall, Paul 18th. He underwent significant repairs. He is a lap down. Troy Carricker has punched out of the 94. He is done for the day. Barry Seaman, 2 laps down. James Hodgson is 3 laps down. Edwin James is still on the pit lane, 4 minutes in his box, under repair. He does have the meatball, and so he is pending, we would think, being out of the race, but he may try to get back in, given that there's at least one position that he might be able to gain. Matty Wagner wants to know who's in the 54. That would be Michael Kirk. He has decided in his evening he'll be credited with 23rd. We do have quite a few cars out of this one. Kirk, Fisher, Fallows, Crandall, Sharp, Owlette, Hutchins, Godnez, and Troy Carricker. So 9 cars have already fallen by the wayside from a starting field of 30. And Sam, when you've only got 21 cars circulating out there, that does tend to tamp down the chances on a caution, doesn't it?
Well, it does make a difference for fewer cars, but as temperamental as these the setups are on these cars, it's very unlikely that we would see anything settling down before the night's over.
Indeed they go. Sean Merriman leads them away. He's got Caleb Jones, Matty Wagner. He's recruiting Joseph Klein to come race an IndyCar on Wednesday nights. How about that? We're still waiting on Mike Rigney to show up and race a truck. We've got to see that, Sam. And I tell you what we ought to do.
Be careful what you ask for. If Mike Rigney shows up to race a truck, you're in for some competition. He is very good in those trucks.
You know what I think we ought to do is have a guest up here one night, have you race as Greg Evans' teammate one week, and then have, we'll have guest appearances. We'll have like a P1 car that'll run these things, but guest appearances. We'll get Gary to run one. I think that would be terrific.
Well, that's what NASCAR does, is bring other drivers in week in and week out.
There you go. Maybe
we have 17 cars on the lead lap now.
We do indeed. Eric Corder
back in the back.
Yeah, Eric Corder is the last car on the lead lap, and give Eric his due. He's been under repair in that 77. He's had his share of issues thus far. He's running along behind Ryan O'Donohue, who I firmly believe is in the back to avoid any and all issues. He's managed to keep that car scratch-free. And then you've got Kendall Paul running along ahead of him. Kendall is minus
open wheel modified.
Yeah, he's minus some body work there, Sam, but it doesn't look like it's running too bad.
He is in the lucky dog candidate. I mean, he's in the lucky dog seat right now. If the caution were to come out, he would be the one to get his lap back.
Incidentally, if you wanted to see how iRacing models the under hood application on these Xfinity machines, there you go. That's the roof cam from Kendall Paul. And here's what he sees. You can tell the hood's not there, but it doesn't really bother him, does it?
No, it doesn't bother him at all. He might enjoy looking at the breather of that car.
He might. Now, it is going to be slower, so all Kendall wants to do is keep on trucking, keep that thing on the lead lap, or keep that thing 1 lap down. He can lose a lap and still get back to 1 lap down, but he is definitely looking for some more cautions to continue to repair the number 78. So we'll keep an eye on him. Meanwhile, at the front, Michael Moquin has gone back to the point, pushed by Jason Heaney. Caleb Jones third. Merriman is fourth.
A spin back there at the back.
It's Keith Graham.
Look like Keith Graham, and Donald Green is involved here.
Yeah. Let's see here. Keith Graham into turn number 3, and we've got some contact around Graham goes. Now Green's going to hit him and straighten him up. So Katie, your man is okay, but Keith Graham is going to take a lick to the outside wall. The EPI, Elite Performance Industries machine, comes back down onto the apron, so he gets it out of bounds. And as we know, that doesn't cause a caution, so Graham is going to get going one more time. Unfortunately, Shelby, you mentioned Troy. He has retired his machine. His car heavily damaged in an accident right before the end of the first stage. We'll get going live. Graham has made it back to the pit lane. We're going to go back to the front of this field, Sam. Moquin, Heaney, Merriman, Palermo, and Benz now with Caleb Jones in 6th. Merriman's reign at the top didn't last too long, but he didn't really lose all that much didn't really lose all that much either. He's kind of firmly there in 3rd. That is Caleb Jones up on the top in the 12. They haven't lost nearly what they gained, have they?
No, they really haven't. After all the attrition that we've seen so early in this race, I'm just under the impression that some of these drivers are going to want to settle in so that they can finish this race. I mean, no one likes to get out early. No one wants to be wrecked or be involved in an incident. I mean, I'm sure racers who had good starts to this race, like Vance Fisher and Troy Carricker and these others that were running up front early, or Rick Fallis, who actually qualified in the top 10. I'm sure these drivers are not happy about being out so early. And it would only make sense that if these drivers would really just think logically about it, is just to get in line, make your moves calculated, and be safe and finish this race. It's really a matter of survival sometimes when the car gets so temperamental like this.
Yeah, and you don't really think about it. I'm going to point out this guy right here for a second, James Hodgson, because he's 3 laps down. He's in 18th. We don't think of these races as endurance races, but endurance racing is certainly what stock car racing is. James Hodgson and I are going to share a Cadillac Saturday in the iRacing 6 Hours of the Glen, and I hope that he's gotten his speeding on pit road, crashing down pit road. I hope he gets all that out of his system tonight and tomorrow night. Because if you wreck my caddy, I tend to get grouchy about it, Sam. He and I came so close to winning that race last year.
Wow.
He and I had the car in the lead at the 5-hour mark, and our third co-driver came in and just as it had started to rain, and on cold wets looped it, and we wound up second. But that was an amazing time. But you don't think about this as being an endurance race, but you have to have that mindset to get to finish first, to get to where you get the trophy and the money. You have to finish.
Oh, and no, we see Corey Palermo has now lost control. We have a wreck in turns 3 and 4. He's collected several other cars.
Oh, no, there goes the 57. That's Brian Wasserman's involved. Colby Pierce was involved. Corey Palermo's 71 Camry is toast. And that was right at the front of the field. And this is what you don't want to see. We're going to take a look at Palermo, and then we'll come back and look at some other views of this accident. Corey Palermo, he's going into turn number 3, and there he goes. Collects Merriman back up into Dunwoody, hits hard. Lee Campbell into it. There's Colby Pierce into it.
We were just at the end of the first stage when we saw Corey
Greg
Palermo
Evans
going a lap down.
Yeah, Greg Evans gets collected. Well, he had gotten that lap back, Sam.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, Greg Evans has a meatball, but I think Evans' machine...
I think that's wheel damage.
No, that's Lee Campbell that had the meatball. There's Lee. Greg Evans is going to have wheel damage. There's Corey Palermo. Yeah. We're going to get and watch this from the roof of Greg Evans. This is going to be...
caught that right front into the incident.
Yeah, and this is a fast hot rod. This man has been up front most of the day. They'll be able to get this fixed. and I don't think he's going to lose any speed, but he's just going to have to spend the time on pit road. There's the accident. There's the accident. He gets doored by the 57, and just right there is the contact, and it's not going to be much for Greg. We'll see if we can't look in on the Sim Magic Freightliner deuce for Greg Evans. It says I am second, but he has not been second very much. Certainly the driver that's dominated most of the season, along with Kyle Heath.
Oh, wow. Just a little bit of contact there.
He's got a little wrinkle on there, Sam, but I think they'll be able to fix that up pretty good for him.
Yeah, I think that's completely fixable. There won't be any issues with that car. It'll be a few seconds of optional damage at best.
Yeah. Now Lee Campbell did speed around to go into the pits, and so he's going to have a black flag for entering the closed pit. He is going to begin to affect his repair, but that's why you see him going to the lead. Michael Moquin is the leader, lap 64 of 163, from Heaney, Benz, Pierce, Osterman, Klein, Wasserman, Evans, Quarter, and Green. Now, it's interesting to note, Sam, this is one of those spots. We've been out 21 laps, or excuse me, we've been out 17 laps on current, right? Mm-hmm. We're going to have another stage break at 90. Oh, we're going to have
90.
Yeah, we're going to have another stage break at 90. Is this one of those where you think about bringing it in for some new tires? Do you stay out? Do you save that set for later? What are you kind of thinking about on the tires?
Well,
Sam?
the tire limit set, the tire set limit in this race is actually not what it has been in prior races.
All right,
There's only one on the car at the start of the race, and then 3 extra sets. We've been racing with 4 extra sets.
Okay, so you essentially you really don't have an extra set.
You want to pick up a set for each of your stage breaks, and then late in the race, when you have a long green flag run, you need that other set. So you don't have that extra set to play with that you've been able to play with in the past.
One of the things is we see Michael Moquin grab the loud pedal. He'll pull away from Jason Heaney, Trevor Benz, Colby Pierce, Justin Osterman, Joseph Klein, Greg Evans, Brian Wasserman, Eric Quarter, and Donald Green continue. David Dunwoody, Kendall Paul, they were able to effect additional repair, as was Caleb Jones. Those cars are back on the lead lap. Lee Campbell has retired, as has Corey Palermo. Poor James Hodgson can't get a lap back because people keep going a lap down in front of him. But right now, he'd be the lucky dog, Sam. As we watch the front of this field one more time. Whoa, Trevor Benz. And I don't know if that was a push from Mr. Excitement or if he got loose, but they're going to be 3 wide here, Sam.
Well, it's only going to be a matter of time as long as the 53, if he's on the lead lap, it's only going to be a matter of time before we're going to call out Justin Osterman's name. And so here he is up at the front again on this restart, and it's going to be Katie hold on to everything, not just bar the door, but all of it, because it's going to get interesting at the close of this stage with about 20-something laps to go.
I like what Matty Wagner said right there. He said, I'm saving tires this whole race, and I've done this before in an ISRA event. Come in, if you've got limited tires, on the first stop, take gas only. And we wouldn't necessarily know that, Sam, based on the times, because, 45 laps is about the length of a fuel run here. These drivers would have to take a full stop just to gas it up, so we wouldn't know if they took tires or not.
Yeah, I think even with just fuel, it would be almost an 11-second pit stop.
Yeah, so you don't know if they took tires or not, and that's a great point. Who's going to be cagey and take gas only, knowing that their tires are going to stink for a while, but at the end of the race, they can put on a set of freshies that nobody else has.
In these particular conditions, though, it is risky to do that, because if you try to run 50, 60, 70 laps on one set of tires under these conditions and the way these cars handle, you could find yourself in a lot of trouble.
You could. I mean, I'm not talking about going fast. I'm talking about, I'm hanging out in the back.
Just preserving. No, I understand your premise. It was just in the grand scheme of just pit stops and just trying to make sure that you're making the best decisions. It would be it would be a death sentence in some ways, just as simply because of how the car's been handling as the later in the run. Because even as skilled drivers as what we have here in the AMA, like Greg Evans and several others, they were getting completely out of control at the end of that first run.
Yeah, they were. I'll tell you who is. I'll tell you who's going to the front. You mentioned that Osterman's going to go to the front as long as he's on the lead lap. He's going to go to the front, Sam, as long as there are 4 tires and as long as there's 4 tires and some sheet metal. Justin Osterman's going toward the front. You see him pull that.
He's getting a push from one of the best with the deuce behind him.
Yes, he is. Greg Evans also wants to go to the front, and he says, well, I believe that 53 is going to go, so I think I'll follow him. Michael Moquin on the bottom, Osterman on the top with help from Evans, Trevor Benz on the bottom pushing Moquin. I'd have to say, though, Sam, I believe that top line might be a marriage of convenience that's going to last just about as long as Greg wants it to or needs it to.
Well, some drivers in these conditions with this particular car, they would prefer to run that high line just simply because of the banking, and they want to utilize that for the car not to be as unmanageable as it may be on the bottom line. We did see Michael Moquin get a little out of shape in the first stage, running that bottom line, and so the top line could be preferred in regards to just making sure that the stability of the car is underneath you.
You know, that's a great point, Sam. Do want to welcome Mike Rigney to the chat. Wagner has pointed out that David Dunwoody painted him up in IndyCar, and it's not just stock cars that the folks at Black Magic do. You can go get yourself an IndyCar. They've done mine for, oh golly, Sam, 5 years now. It's been a while that we've been carrying their colors. So kudos to Matty Wags for pointing that out. Mike Rigney has joined us, Sam. That's trouble. I hope you don't have.
No, it's never trouble. Mike Rigney's a great asset to have in our spectator fold tonight.
Did you get him a foot-long corn dog, Sam?
No, only if we go to Richmond does he get a foot-long corn dog.
Only if we go to Richmond. All right, so we've got Mr. Excitement up front. We've got Greg Evans second. I think that you're right. The only thing that, there's pros and cons to running the top here. It does tend to save your right front a little bit. It does.
Yes, sir.
It does tend to wear the right rear a little bit more.
Because you're on the throttle longer.
Yeah, you're on throttle longer, but you can manage tire wear that way. You don't.
3 wide. David Dunwoody just sneaks it in there under Caleb Jones.
Yes, he does. Dunwoody will sneak the spot too. You saw it there, kind of on the right side of your screen. Other things about running the top line like that, you don't have nearly as far to go to hit the wall, and so it doesn't tend to hurt as bad when you hit it. For me, I love running the top, Sam. But it always seems like when there's cars loose on the bottom, I would rather be on the bottom just because the guys on the bottom, when they get loose and they get sideways, they're going to back the car up the track and into me. Mm-hmm. So you're putting yourself in a little bit of danger riding out there.
Right. You're certainly at the mercy of the skill of the driver that's on the bottom line. There's no 2 ways around it. The old adage is that, 8 tires are better than 4, but it's not better when those tires are pointed in the wrong direction. As we see, Greg Evans has now decided he's just not going to follow Osterman anymore. He's going to get in line on the bottom side.
Yes, he will. And that'll bring Sean Merriman up to
Moke went sideways again.
Osterman
He's safe
sideways.
on the apron of the racetrack.
Watch Dunwoody up the middle.
3 wide.
Dunwoody up the middle. He got right to the back of Greg Evans, and he had to back out of it. Meanwhile, Colby Pierce, you saw the flames come out of the side of the 42. He backed off to let his teammate David Dunwoody in because that would have been a mess. Dunwoody works to the inside.
As soon as Michael Moquin gets sideways, if you go back and look at the replay, you'll see where Greg Evans jams the brakes. You can see the smoke coming off the tires as he brakes as Moquin is spinning in front of him, and he doesn't get run over from behind. That was so close on so many levels.
Yeah, here we go. We're going to watch. Let's watch Greg Evans here. His view off the gyro, out of the helmet. Watch Michael Moquin in front of him. There goes. Well, I'm not going to say Trevor Benz was all the way under control either because he wasn't. But watch Evans sneak through the middle here, and there's you can kind of see the tire smoke. Colby Pierce, though, wins the award for heads up driving. Watch this. Dunwoody gets to the back because Dunwoody's trying to avoid trouble here too. Colby Pierce jams on the brakes and lets Dunwoody in. That could have been a heck of a mess. Nolan Milnes joins us cheering for his First Gear Racing teammates. But that could have been a huge mess, Sam, for a lot of different reasons and for a lot of different guys. They all get away with it. But Moquin needs to figure out how to save that right rear because if he can't do that, he's going to be in deep trouble. 32 laps. He's got another 11 circuits to go.
Now we're seeing there's a lot of communication just simply about the last incident. A lot of drivers are just trying to figure out, exactly what happened, what they're going to do from here. Donald Green is now saying that he has over 7 minutes of damage that he has to get repaired. Caleb Jones is heavily damaged as well, as he was caught up in that incident. And now the front runners, Justin Osterman, while you were showing that very detailed replay and that great shot, Justin Osterman shot the gap and moved himself up on the outside front row, going 3 wide, and now he's racing Greg Evans for the lead.
Yes, he is. Osterman has the push from Trevor Benz. He'll go to the point, slide down in front of Greg Evans. Meanwhile, we've got somebody blinking in and out and trying to get to pit lane. That was Caleb Jones.
It's like Caleb Jones, yeah, Caleb Jones.
That was Caleb Jones. So we've really only got, 16 cars, 17 cars circulating out here? Sam, 17 cars?
Right, only 12 cars on the lead lap. And the one-armed bandit, Ryan O'Donohue, if he continues running this race the way that he's running it, he's going to look like Albert Einstein of racing.
Well, what makes you think he's not the Albert Einstein of racing, Sam?
Well, we already know his skill level, so now in races like this, we may just see his cognitive skills and see how good they are as well.
There's Ryan. We're talking about him. We might as well show him. He's running along in 12th position, just at the back of this draft.
He's the last car on the lead lap. Last car.
Yes, he is. Donald Green checks in and. He says that it always happens when he's having a good run. That's kind of Murphy's Law, but you'll be all right if you can get that thing fixed. Donald can get that thing fixed. He could still very well have a top 15 run, so it may be worth him sticking around for it. Rigney claims that super speedway wins don't count. Now, Sam, I'm here to tell him that they do count. My first win in the AMA was at Talladega. And it came using a strategy very much like Ryan O'Donohue's using now. I will freely admit that my truck was painted like a chicken and I drove it like one. We didn't even race in that race until 5 laps to go, and then there were several green-white checkers. And when the last wreck happened, I managed to shoot the gap, came out behind Lee Campbell and slingshotted him, won the race. Or Chad Winstead, rather. Slingshotted him down the front, won the race. And so they do count, but they do count. Yes, Wagner, you do need to go practice at Lime Rock. Make sure you tell us what the fuel window is, too. Write that down.
In the meantime, I'm going to step down into the infield care center. I'm going to check on some folks. I'll be right back.
Yes, sir. So Sam Crow, he's going to go look after some folks in the infield care center. Meanwhile, Greg Evans, Justin Osterman are on the front row. It would appear that they had that locked down. The tires are starting to go away. Corey Palermo said that his tires just disappeared and were the catalyst in that accident for him. But here's Evans, Osterman on the front row. David Dunwoody, all kinds of trouble controlling the 28. He's on row 2, along with Trevor Benz. Klein and Heaney, row 3. Colby Pierce, Michael Moquin are going to be row 4 in this battle. It is not the start of this race. You're not seeing things. We've got 3 laps to go to decide the stage here. Second stage here. It is David Dunwoody, that you're watching slide around in third. He's got some damage to the rear of that automobile. Greg Evans leading it. Justin Osterman, Mr. Excitement, is second. And yeah, that was a bad deal, Mike Rigney, for Mark Cohn. We were calling that race, Ryan Eric King and I. We actually Osterman sideways, Moquin to the apron, and the tires are gone now. These guys are going to be sliding around. But from the point that Mark Cohn made his pit stop to the end of the race, he was actually faster than Alex Miller in that race. Lap car of Kendale Paul to the top. We've got a car in the lead pack blinking. That's Jason Heaney. Coming to get one to go for the stage. It's going to be between Evans and Osterman. The lines have more or less solidified. 2x2x2. Positions 1 through 6. You're seeing Heaney go in and out with a connection issue. Evans has the bottom. Osterman the top. Dunwoody is going to be pushing Evans. The second car in line on the top is Trevor Benz. He's got help from Colby Pierce. Heaney is going to be the wild card in here because he's blinking. Let's see if that has any effect on things. To the line they come. Greg Evans. Now you got to keep going until the top 10 cross the line. Around goes Heaney. Around goes Klein.
Heaney, but they save it. I'm back from the Infield Care Center just in time to see more driving way, way, way above the pay grade as those two drivers save it at the last there.
Yeah, let's watch the end of the stage. Jason Heaney and
Joseph Klein there.
Yeah, Jason Heaney, Joseph Klein. They're going to come together, coming off of turn number 4, or coming across the line actually.
I don't think either of those cars are any worse for wear there. I think they'll both be fine.
Yeah, and something that people may not know about this, about these cars in a situation. Well, Heaney went up and kind of got into Trevor Benz a little bit. Neither of those cars hit anything, so I think they're going to be okay. Well, they hit each other a little bit.
I think it was just more of a slide, yeah.
But something that people don't really realize about this place, Sam, is as you're driving around here on old tires, the car gets extremely light going through the quad oval. And I mean extremely light. To the point where we're gonna watch the pit stops here. To the point, Sam, where you wind up in a situation where in an open wheel car you actually you actually use the weight jacker to change the spring rate in the right rear to make it dial understeer through there. You can crash.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and it's one of the characteristics of these quad ovals, especially. But if we're really being fair, at the super speedways at Daytona and Talladega, where there's so much pack racing, even at those tracks, at the incredible speeds that they have there, the tri-ovals there are equally as precarious.
Yes, they are. Speaking of precarious situations, Sam, guess what just happened? The lights just flicked on. So we're about to have a Thursday night special here in Atlanta. We've got the Atlanta Motor Speedway. We've got Grand National cars. The lights are on. I have a feeling this is about to get fun. If you think that this is fun, and we certainly do, make sure you smash the like button on the video. Ring the bell to subscribe to all future P1 broadcasting action. Greg Evans is your leader. Osterman, Benz, Moquin, Merriman are your top 5. We will return right after these commercial messages. Getting ready to come back to green flag action, Sam. Greg Evans, Justin Osterman are your front row. That's how they finished stage 2. Do we think the end of stage 3 is going to be any different? We've got a total of 70 laps, 69 as they take their green flag to decide it. Greg Evans smashes the loud button. He's going to go out toward the lead and off toward turn 1, Sam.
And Trevor Benz with him here. Trevor Benz is in the ideal position that he can watch the takeoff of the deuce, and so he, since his number is 3, he'll just follow suit right here behind Greg Evans as they pull away from the outside line. We've reduced this field to half, and now we're hoping that doesn't take any of the quality of what we're going to see in the final stage of this race.
You know, I don't know if it will or not. I'll tell you who has had some quality time on pit lane. Joseph Klein, Ryan O'Donoghue, Colby Pierce, David Dunwoody, Kendale Paul, James Hodgson, Keith Graham, and Donald Green, all significant repair under that last caution. Trevor Benz has gone to the lead now over Justin Osterman. Greg Evans is going to go to third. With 68 laps to go, my assumption here is that everybody is going to have to make at least one more pit stop. Meanwhile, Matty Wagner wants to know, who took no tires and fuel only? The answer to that question is, Sam, nobody. So they've all got one set of tires left.
Which is, in my opinion, it was just the way to race this particular event. It's too risky in those first 2 stages to take the risk of the car getting out of shape late in a run, and then you putting yourself in jeopardy. Even with some of the drivers that do so well at super speedways like Michael Moquin, we've seen Greg Evans, several of these drivers have got even up front and they're just out of shape. You need those tires. And so they are all just thinking this thing through, utilizing these stage brakes to put on fresh rubber and making sure that the last run is going to be good enough that they save that last set.
You know, Sam, I don't doubt you. As a gambling man and as somebody who likes to play the chicken in these races, if I was Ryan O'Donoghue, I would have gassed only that first stop because I know I'm gonna run around in the back anyway. Why not take a gamble and try to grab a win here? We know O'Donoghue's fast. He was, after all, fastest in practice, Sam, for the 78th week in a row. So we know he's got the speed.
I agree with you.
We know he's got the speed, but if you're going to play that strategy, play every card in that deck. But nobody has done so. Again, O'Donoghue under significant repair. There were multiple cars there that took that opportunity to fix quite a bit of damage on their automobiles. I don't know if O'Donoghue had so much damage as it was maybe he needed to do some work on the driver, and so he spent some time on the pit lane.
Oh, was it Kyle Heath stop?
It could have been. Britty says, I may be right. I'm probably wrong. Very few people ever accuse me of being right. But remember, Sam, I've been awarded admin responsibilities. I do not accept them, and I'll probably misuse them.
I hear you. Oh, we got a car on the wall, hard off a turn.
It's Dunwoody. It's David Dunwoody. He has been.
That was significant damage. That was a significant hit.
Yeah, he gets down there. He gets loose in between James Hodgson and Keith Graham. And watch here, Sam. There it turns loose with him right at apex. He saves it. Ooh. Didn't save it enough.
Oh, he pancaked that wall incredibly hard.
Yes, he did, and that's
hard. That's hard enough to definitely have the spotter to let you know that you have wheel damage.
Well, and
he's fading. He's really fading from this lead pack now.
He is. Last time through, Trevor Benz 31.742, Dunwoody 33.972. He's going to be a couple of seconds off the pace. Dunwoody is going to need a caution in about the next, I'm going to call it 14 laps, or he's going to be a lap down. Now, the good news for Dunwoody, if he gets that caution, he can come in and get that fixed, and so there you go. Wags is of course playing devil's advocate to my devil's advocate and saying, now wait a minute, if you sit in the back and wait for the yellow, then bam, you're likely to be the yellow, and that's fair too. There is a tremendous amount of luck that's involved in that strategy. You see the field. They're coming
Absolutely.
They're pulling up, putting another lap on Kendall Paul, who is still hoodless after he spent a minute and 11 seconds off pit lane the last time by. So Kendall Paul still repairing significant damage. But
well, what he lacks in sheet metal on the car, he makes up for in grit. So he's sticking it out here in racing. I've said it before, and I'll say it again, that drivers that are willing to stick it out and complete the event, I just have a lot of respect for drivers that are going to do that, especially if they're willing to make sure that they don't put themselves, that they're not a player at the end of the race, or that if the leaders catch them, they get in the way or they race them. I don't mind drivers sticking it out. I just want to make sure that they're doing it in the right fashion. And Kendall Paul, he's raced enough to know that that's exactly what his role is in this particular event with a damaged race car.
Wagner said that he usually is the caution, Sam. I'm going to ask him, is that in reality or just for administrative purposes? Trevor Benz has gone to the lead over Michael Moquin. Jason Heaney is third. The top four, going back to Mr. Excitement, they are single file. The first car on the line is Brian Wasserman, and he is the only car trying to make a fist of that top line. Everybody else, yep. Evans, Pierce, Klein, Merriman, and O'Donoghue on back, they are single file. Sam, single file.
Yeah, we're seeing some of these drivers. I mean, things have settled down, and now we're seeing drivers that are wanting to make their move up toward the front, like what we're seeing with Wasserman on the outside of Justin Osterman coming off of turn 4 here. Jason Heaney had just the few laps prior, he actually did the same thing, started making single car passes to get up to third place. And Joseph Klein is now doing the same. But, you look at Greg Evans and you wonder, does he have damage from the earlier contact that he had in an incident? Or is he just sitting back, saving tire, and allowing pit stops? Now, if these drivers are really thinking this thing through, are they saving tire, saving fuel? Are they waiting for the green flag pit stops in order to get separation? Because you are going to see a big separation in how these cars play out when they start making these green flag stops. And drivers like Greg Evans may be thinking ahead of that already.
They could, Sam, and something I'd like to point out. We've seen these types of races here before, tire conservation, fuel conservation races. It always seems to work out that the car that stops later has the advantage. The car that goes long has the advantage because they can run harder on that last set. And if there's anybody that has experience or more experience at that, anybody in this field, it's going to be Greg Evans.
But you also have to take into consideration this is a draft track. And you're not going to be able to make lap times as fast as what you would in a pack or with another car.
That's a great point, Sam. We're going to have to see how it plays out. Do you split it in half? Do you try to come with friends? Do you run as long as possible? Are your friends your teammates, or are your friends friends of convenience? We're watching Greg Evans run along behind Mr. Excitement's.
That is one of the most perplexing things about super speedway racing and draft racing, is that even if you have teammates or friends that are in the event and you're making every plan that you can make, okay, we're going to split this run in half. We're only going to take 2 tires. We'll take 4 tires, no tires. We're all going to pit together. We'll stay together so we can draft together. And if you have 2 or 3 of those friends or 4 of those friends and you're willing to make all those plans, it never fails that 1, 2, or even sometimes 3 of those friends, they either miss their box, they miss the pit stop, they speed on, they speed coming in, speed coming off. You never know what to expect when it comes to plate track racing or speedway racing like this. It can be so unpredictable.
You don't, and here's the thing with it, Sam, and what's the old military adage? A good battle plan never survives first contact with the enemy. Well, that's kind of what this is, right? I mean, you don't know what's going to happen, so you can plan on it. But it only takes, we've seen it all the time in real life, super speedway races and so forth. One guy slides his tires, one guy, has a bad pit stop. It lays waste to best laid plans. I'm sure Trevor Benz has a plan. I'm sure Moquin and Klein, Jason Heath.
Well, his plan right now is to run up front.
Yeah, I'm sure those first gear guys have a plan. I'm sure, that Greg Evans has a plan. The difference with Evans, though, Osterman, Pierce, and those guys, they all have teammates, right? Evans is flying solo here.
Correct.
I don't know. He had been in a Discord a couple of times with Ryan O'Donohue, but they are not this evening, and so we don't know if Greg Evans has help or not.
Well, he's a wily veteran. He knows exactly how to do this, and even if he pitted alone, and let's say that a team of cars were to pit ahead of him, and these drivers should be calling out pit stops at this particular racetrack. They cannot just take a pit stop and not call it out because it could cause so much havoc behind them. And is that Evans in the wall on the outside?
It is not. That's Donald Green. That's Donald Green up there.
Green.
Yeah, that's Donald Green up there. That
wow.
Car,
two white cars there, and it just threw me off for a second there. I was talking about that.
Now, speaking of grit, Donald Green, he is 17th. He's 13 laps down. He was involved in a difficult incident earlier. Donald Green, he's stayed with it, and he's gained about 7 or 8 spots since his initial accident. He's 1 lap behind Keith Graham, who is ironically the car right behind him, although Donald Green nearly collides with the one-armed bandit Ryan O'Donohue. Green is going to get to the back of that pack. But I'm saying that to say this, Donald Green has made up a ton of spots, right? So,
right.
And
he will continue to do so as long as he stays in there and runs laps. Oh, and does he get loose again as he gets into the wall?
Very, very,
in turn
very
3 and 4.
loose. Yes, he does.
Wow. Now he's calling out a pit stop at this, but he either has damage or has to change pants. It's just one of the two at this particular point.
The answer is probably both. There are fresh there are clean brown pants in the number 69 pit box at the end of pit road. He can stop there. So Donald Green is going to bring it back to pit lane. The guys at the front, the first gear racing machines, they're P1 through 4. They have established control here, Sam, and they are, it looks like, going to pretty much go unchallenged toward the first pit stop. Brian Wasserman is 5th in the 57. And then you've got Osterman, Evans, Pierce, Merriman, and Quarter. They'll round out the top 10. The one-armed bandit, Ryan O'Donohue, he runs 11th. And those cars are content to just run single file, Sam, and wait.
Well, like I was saying earlier before we saw Donald Green having a handful of car there, I was talking about Greg Evans doing this solo. And let's say those 4 drivers ahead of him do pit, and they pit together, they call out their pit stop. Greg's smart enough to know that the next lap he wants to pit. If he wants to keep with that lead pack and their team cars and there's more of them, he wants to pit that next time by. Or if they call it out, he may want to pit with them. And that way he knows that he's at least keeping pace with the leaders, even if he's pitting all alone. So Greg's been doing this long enough to know all the tricks of the trade. It does help to have a teammate. It does help to have those that you can communicate with. But I will tell you, there are a ton of drivers over the years that have leaned on Greg Evans' knowledge in these races and his ability to make good decisions.
Just to kind of illustrate for the fans at home, the reason I went to this view is we're in the P1 airship, and courtesy of Whiplash SimCams, this is every automobile still running, with one exception. David Dunwoody.
Donald Green.
Yeah, well, Donald Green has a black flag.
Donald had just pitted, right?
Yeah, he had just pitted. He had just pitted. David Dunwoody is not pictured. Everybody else is in that shot as they slam through the banking, and that gives you an indication of how steep the banking is here at Atlanta. One of the things that I don't mind, Sam, the steeper banking, and I don't mind the ultra smooth surface with the out of state, shall we say, pavement that they used. What I do mind is they made it so narrow. Atlanta was known for a long time as being extremely wide for one of these quad ovals. You could
multiple racing grooves.
Multiple grooves. They've essentially made it 3 interstate lanes all the way around. It is not wide at all. And I think if they had to do it all over again, they would have maintained the width of the old track.
I agree with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly. And now we see Brian Wasserman and Colby Pierce has decided they're going to break up this team party that's happening up front. Now we have a group of drivers outside of that team who are going to take the high line and double it up out here and see what they can do about breaking up the party with those team drivers that have decided they want to run the conga line. And now after Trevor Benz, it's 2 by 2 by 2.
Well, and here's the thing. Colby Pierce up in the wall now.
They're going to
be 3 wide. Now Wasserman.
No, he gets into Osterman. And they wreck behind him. And they're still collecting.
That was Justin Osterman that got into Colby Pierce. Pierce slapped the wall. Osterman got into him. There is another car involved. I didn't quite catch who the third person in was. But here's Pierce. Osterman gets loose. They're 3 wide in 2 lanes. Evans going to sneak by, and Sean Merriman nowhere to go. James Hodgson nowhere to go. The one-armed bandit, Ryan O'Donohue, is going to sneak through. And this is what you'd see if you were Ryan O'Donohue. We're going to be under caution, 40 laps to go. Who's going to gamble by taking tires or not taking tires?
Merriman with huge impact there. Big impact from Sean Merriman.
Yeah.
Ryan O'Donohue barely getting by.
There it is. There's the impact you were talking about from Merriman. O'Donohue misses the sliding Pierce by that much. He avoids the grass, avoids sliding through it. Let's have a look at Sean Merriman here, because he is now going to be hoodless, a la Kendall Paul. Here he is. He's running right behind.
Wow, that was so close.
Yeah, it was. Watch this. Bam! My goodness gracious. That's a hard hit. And for people at home, we say this over and over and over again. This is what Sean Merriman sees here, and it is not much.
There's nowhere to go, nothing you could do. Doesn't matter if you're on the brakes. The car's going to slide into that wreck anyway. That's incredible impact.
Yeah, there's just nowhere for him to go. He's on the brakes, but nowhere for him to be. We do have split decisions on pit lane. Split decisions on the pit lane. Greg Evans did not pit.
Well, now with a little less than 40 laps left, now you start to see a little bit of tire strategy, because the way the cautions have been flying tonight, you may feel confident that there may be one more caution and you want to save that last set of tires. Whereas some drivers just may want to go ahead and get their tires and just finish the event and keep the track position in case anyone else pits for fresh tires. However, if you get those fresh tires late in the race and that high side has been working as well as it has been, you could be a golden child at the end of the event.
Well, and that's what I'm kind of thinking. Greg Evans is banking on another caution, obviously.
Agreed.
You've got David Dunwoody, who has gotten himself back on the lead lap. He is under significant repair. He did not take tires or add fuel, though, just fixed damage on his vehicle. Osterman, Pierce, Merriman, they've all stopped. James Hodgson, he fixed damage but did not change anything. Kendall Paul, still fixing damage, as is Barry Seaman. Keith Graham continues to do so, as does Donald Green. We are down to, Sam, 15 cars on the racing surface. 16.
Unbelievable.
I take that back. But we've only got 12 cars on the lead lap, and that strategy for Ryan O'Donohue is looking pretty doggone good right now.
You got a feel for it, because just the lap prior to that, Justin Osterman, Colby Pierce, they were following Brian Wasserman. They were working the high line. They were just trying to, break up that 1 through 4 conga line dance group of that the FDR cars, and so and then all of a sudden catastrophe hits. The wall glue grabs Pierce, and then it's just a catastrophe. You just hate it for those guys because they work so hard to get up there through the race. As we go back under green, Greg Evans takes the green flag.
Yes, you do, and here we go. One more time. Greg Evans is going to lead it on the old tires. 34 laps in his current run. Greg Evans, to the point, he's being chased by Moquin, Benz, Wasserman, Klein, Heaney, Quarter, Osterman, O'Donohue, and Dunwoody.
Now keep in mind, just for those that have been watching the event, Greg Evans was not racing with the leaders in that last run. Greg Evans had fallen back in about 4th, 5th position. He fell back as far as 8th. That he would just ride. He was just keeping a steady line, a steady wheel, and saving those tires over the long run. And so that may be why he's able to stay out on the racetrack and feel like that he can get more laps out of this set. He knows he's going to have to get one more pit stop, but he may feel strongly that he knows he has that set of tires in the bank.
Well, and even if he pits under green here, he'd still be the lucky dog. And Sam,
by 2 laps. Yeah,
and
exactly right.
I don't know that. Sam, I don't think that we're done having cautions here. As long as he's not the cause of the caution, and he's probably going to come out alone if he has to stop under green and get new tires. I think that this might
Greg
be.
Pulls down to the apron. He pulls down to the apron here and allows these cars to go on by.
Yeah, I think this is a strategic call from Evans.
Can he make it on fuel?
That'd be awfully close.
Oh, we got caution on the Speedway.
It's a moot point because caution is out. Barry Seaman is around at the entrance to pit road.
Poor Barry, man. He has really had a tough night. Really feel for Barry.
Yes, he has. He saved that car at least twice before it finally got into the turn 4 fence, and then Barry Seaman spins it down, backs it down toward pit lane. But that's a hard lick.
James Austin just missed him. It was so close.
Yes, he did. So now Greg Evans looks like a genius because he's going to be able to come in, grab his new set of tires, if he so chooses. Everybody else is going to have to go to the back. The only cars that may have a set are David Dunwoody and James Hodgson. And I emphasize may have a set, Sam. So this is going to get plenty fun here. That's awfully cagey if you think you can make it on gas and outrun guys on 30-lap older tires. That would be an interesting bit of strategery, Mr. Crow.
I'm listening to in-race comms, and apparently Greg Evans is saying now that during one of these pit cycles that he wanted to pit, he actually missed pit road because pit road entrance is on the backstretch here.
Yeah, and for people to know what we're talking about, we're getting ready to go onto the backstretch. So you see the blue cone. That's where you can exit onto the racing surface. There's another cone that denotes where you can exit, where you have to commit to pit road. Here at Atlanta, that is way up the backstretch. Right.
As you enter into turn 3, there will be an orange bog. That's painted onto the racetrack. It
is right there. So that's where you got to enter pit road here, Sam. And you've got to follow that all the way around. And if you miss that, that's a penalty. You cannot pit under, and you have to do that under yellow as well. That's considered part of all this area here from that orange box all the way down to pit road. That is considered by the officials as part of pit lane.
Some of the viewers may be thinking, well, at a COTA, why are they entering pit lane on the backstretch? Well, just because of the nature of super speedway racing and pack racing like this, it is to help prevent mass wrecks and things like that of drivers either losing control or at the last minute deciding to pit off of turn 4, because so many drivers utilize the bottom of the racetrack, and the stopping distance at these speeds would be close to nominal at best,
Right.
just simply because of how fast you're going to get for entry. So they use the apron of 3 and 4 to help slow the cars down and to get them out of the racing line of those that are still under speed. So that's why you're seeing the difference between Atlanta and tracks like Charlotte or Las Vegas or things like that.
Or even Daytona and Talladega. If you think about those tracks, Sam, those would
There's
probably
so much runoff at those tracks, though.
well, but you got to think about where you're coming off on the pit lane. It's a straight line, and there's a ton of room down there. So as long as the people that need to pit get to the bottom, they just cross over that line off the racing surface, and they've got a large area that's paved and so forth. It wasn't always paved. Ask Ricky Rudd, but you've got a large paved area over there to slow down, get lined up, and get on pit road. Here, you don't have that. If they were to exit onto pit road, and we do when we run the Indy cars here, pit road is where that dash line is where you have to exit, and it does get hairy. But then again, for those cars, this isn't a pack race. Meanwhile, we're going to get green flag action going one more time. Joseph Klein is going to lead them away, Sam.
Joseph Klein is another one of those drivers that have just really been working on his craft. He's been running well lately, and he's been incredibly fast at some of these races. And so it's really good to see how well he's doing tonight as they kind of check up and do a little bumper car there off of 2. Some of the cars just bumped into each other a little bit, but everyone's fine. No worse for wear for any driver, and so they stay in a line. The only driver out of line at the moment is now Ryan O'Donoghue and Justin Osterman.
Yeah, so O'Donoghue, he's decided it's time to come forward. We've got the camera on him. He is going to go by Brian Wasserman or attempt to in that high line. He's going to have some help from Greg Evans. Evans playing the sly game here. He's going to try to continue to run along. Greg Evans is in 7th. O'Donoghue, though, he's making the move to the high side of Moquin, and that might be dangerous given Moquin. This is about the time where his tires start to get mighty slidey, Sam.
Wow, Wasserman got so close to the left rear. Ryan O'Donoghue right there.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. To the front goes Joseph Klein. He's got Jason Heaney, Michael Moquin, Trevor Binns, Brian Wasserman, and Ryan O'Donoghue. And now they're going to go 3x3, Sam.
Well, considering the contact and the damage that Justin Osterman and Colby Pierce suffered in the earlier incident just a couple of cautions ago, they're managing to stay with this lead pack for the moment. They're 2x2 up front, and Ryan O'Donoghue is really in the best seat to watch that racing.
Yes, he is. The other thing that Ryan O'Donoghue is I wouldn't say O'Donoghue's got the best seat. I think the best seat's going to go to this man right here. There's the battle for the lead as Greg Evans sees it, and here's what he's doing while he sees it. 170 miles an hour. He's got some space. He's got some room there, Sam, to avoid.
That's on purpose. Yeah, that's exactly right, Mark. That's on purpose.
Yeah, he's given room there on purpose so that he can avoid what he thinks is coming. And he is way out of the throttle as well, Sam.
He could very well be conserving tire, fuel. There might be different strategies that play out here. As the drivers, again, iRacing sets fuel sometimes that when you go in, it only gives you enough to finish the event, so that can change the characteristics of how the car drives under conditions that are green. So, it may make the car tighter, it may make it looser for drivers. It just depends on what tire situation that they may be dealing with.
It might. Trevor Binns leads it. We're riding on the roof of Greg Evans, but the field has started to get busy up front. Moquin leads it from Binns. Ryan O'Donoghue has got himself up onto the second row, and if he keeps going, it's not going to be long. He's thinking about pulling it 3 wide, Sam.
Now, Michael Moquin, again, I mentioned this at the beginning of the race. Michael Moquin likes to keep his car up front at these particular races, and he continues to do just that. He races that car to the front. But we've also saw tonight that car can be a handful for Michael Moquin, as he's lost control of it on a couple of occasions. And so let's just hope that the clean air and the cooler temperatures on the racetrack will give him more grip so that he can finish what he started here tonight.
Absolutely. Looking while we watch this, what is about to be, I'm sure, a classic finish, do want to remind our viewers we've got a full slate of iRacing action coming up within the next week. Tomorrow night we've got the AMA Archway Industrial Coatings Truck Series. Sam, we're going to go road course racing. How about that from Lime Rock?
That's exciting.
Yeah, that is. And then we're going to follow that up Sunday. The Votive Indy Oval Series is going to be right here at the old Atlanta, and I'm looking forward to that. I'll be in that race, Sam. You should come.
We just ran a cup race at Old Atlanta in the next gen car, and I'm going to tell you, it was a handful. It was just an amazing race. The product was not the best for me at the end of the night. I raced all the way up to second, only to lose control of the car late. But it can be a handful on that particular racetrack. Any car on the Old Atlanta is just a joy to drive.
Yes, it is. But that'll be Sunday night, 8 o'clock here. Gary Godso on the call. Monday night, Jacob Collins and I will have the IndyCar Open Series Top Split. That'll be Mid-Ohio, 8 o'clock. Tuesday night, the IndyCar Oval Top Split Tuesday race. It's presented by Techtopia, Sam. It is a double header, and it's at Daytona. So Gary will have a doubleheader podcast in the middle. Won't that be fun? I have never been more happy to be retired, Sam. And then they're gonna have the IndyCar iRacing series presented by 4D Raceware. We're gonna do that broadcast Wednesday night at 9. And so a full slate of iRacing action here on the P1 Broadcasting Network. Meanwhile, Michael Moquin leads it from Trevor Benz.
3 wide. David Dunwoody on the inside. 3 wide.
You know, he's got that baby fixed, Sam.
He's feeling it.
Yeah, he is.
He's still on the lead lap. He just gets in the side of Colby Pierce there, and the lap car of Keith Graham, and he's moving this thing to the front.
Meanwhile, Greg Evans remains on the Speedway, 51 laps on his current run. James Hodgson, 52 laps. David Dunwoody has got his car fixed. He's decided it's time to go with 20 to go. All eyes, though, at least my eyes, I've got one eye on this battle, and I've got one eye on the deuce. When is he going to finally give up and come to pit road? This shot, by the way, contains every single lead lap car in the field.
Well, because this is a mile and a half, I mean, the fuel savings, it could very well be interesting to see what Greg Evans is up to. He doesn't do anything without some kind of purpose behind it. And now we see Joseph Klein move to the outside of Michael Moquin up front, and behind him is Trevor Benz. Jason Heaney will tuck in behind the 8.
Yeah, those are all teammates, and we were watching them go door to door in that second row just a moment ago. Ryan O'Donoghue is the interested party as we watch it from the drone. Now we'll watch it from the roof. How about that? How about these pictures provided by Whiplash SimCams? Do want to thank all of the sponsors here in the AMA. Those sponsors would include, of course, Blackmagic Studios, Archway Industrial Coatings, Admin Box, Track Racer, and Rogue Energy Drink. If you need some energy, go to rogueenergy.com. Use the promo code AMA24 to get 10% off your order. Things are going to start getting busy here, Sam.
Oh yeah, the checkout line at the grocery store is absolutely with the light on, and people are looking. They're filling up their baskets and getting ready to head to the door. So it's going to get interesting to see how it plays out in the closing. Now, I don't think that fuel mileage is an issue for these cars that are right up front. But some cars will. Some of these drivers are a little. I think that David Dunwoody's tires are actually fresher than the ones that are ahead of him.
They are. He's at 17 laps, as is Osterman. Everybody else, with the exception of Greg Evans, who has been out 55 laps on his current run, everybody else, well, everybody has used their 3 sets except for Evans. Meanwhile, back at the ranch here, we're 2x2x2, the top 6 under a blanket. It's, is that, but you mentioned, you said it was checkout time at the grocery store. Is that a green light special, a blue light special, a yellow light special? What do we got here to see who's going to bid for the win, Sam? Bottom line now gets organized.
Yeah, in my opinion, it just depends on who has the best savings here. Who has the most coupons?
Well, I'll tell you what, guy who's got a big one. That's the man running in 11th, Greg Evans. He's got a set of tires in the pit lane that nobody else has. We'll go ahead and show one more time. This is the blimp provided by Whiplash Simcams, the P1 Airship. And every lead lap car is now in the picture, Sam.
Just makes you wonder what's going on in the mind of drivers like Ryan O'Donoghue, who has just nestled himself in behind these drivers, these FGR contingency that's racing up into the front of the field. It just makes you wonder exactly how he's processing, how he wants to finish these last 12 laps, 13 laps, and just to try to get up to the front the best way that he knows how. I'm like you. I think there's going to be the recipe for a caution that's going to happen before the end of the race, and we're going to see.
Well,
we're going to see a lot of different strategies play out.
I see the guy that's likely to trigger it moving up on the bottom line. That's Mr. Excitement, the 53, Justin Osterman. He has started to move himself into contention, and we know that he is not going to be shy about sticking the nose of that.
I don't know that he'll be as patient as Ryan O'Donoghue has been these last few laps. If he sees the opening, he's going to try and take it.
No, and here's something else I love about this shot, and I do want to thank everybody who's tuned in. If you haven't already done it, make sure you grab the like button on the video, ring the bell to subscribe to the channel. But I love this picture that we're watching right now because it shows you just how much these cars move. It doesn't necessarily look like they're moving lanes at all. Justin Osterman thought about going to the apron. It doesn't look like they're moving lanes all that much at all when you show them just from the trackside cameras like this here. They don't look like they're moving around all that much. You get in that blimp or that high drone shot like that, my goodness gracious, those cars are moving sometimes half a lane, a full lane, multiple times per corner per lap.
There is a lot of movement. Again, these cars, of all the NASCAR entries, current NASCAR entries, like the trucks, the next-gen Cup cars, out of all these vehicles, the Grand National cars are the ones that have the most travel in the suspension. So there is a lot of movement in these cars, and that's why you're seeing what you're seeing at this particular event. The draft, the wind really does play a role in how the car maneuvers through traffic. The clean air that might be on the nose of the car can have a big effect, but the dirty air behind it also has a great deal to do with how the car handles as well.
We do want to mention that we have breaking news, at least within the P1 community. Joseph Klein is signed up to race an IndyCar on Wednesday nights with Matty Wagner's group, and so Wag says he's cheering him on. He also notes that they are not fans of the Cup car, and so I'm assuming that a debate between he and Mike Rigney is about to ensue. Klein goes back to the lead.
Wow.
Okay, and so now this is what's going to open it up for everybody else. The handling is gone on these cars. Somehow, Greg Evans, I have no idea how he's made it 63 laps, but he has. He's only got to make it at 8 more.
And we've been under several cautions, so Greg could have very well been saving fuel.
He very well could have been, but that does seem like such a long stretch. Sam, the question isn't...
Well, stretch or not, he is now passing cars.
Yeah, so he's decided...
not saving anymore.
Yeah, he's decided it's time to go. Meanwhile, the cars up front, everybody's tires are worn out now. Nobody's car is stable, and everybody is going to start to fight for the win. And now it's not a question of when they come together, or it's not a question of if, but it's when, Sam. The first
And
gear
who will make it through?
Yeah, and who's going to make it through? The FGR cars pretty much have the whole track blocked across, though. 2x2 at the front. Moquin to the lead over Klein. Klein's going to come back on the bottom. Pushes from Benz on the top. Heaney on the bottom. Wasserman.
Oh, Heaney gets loose there on the bottom side, and that slows him down a little bit. Wasserman has to check up just a tad.
Yeah, it's going to take a mistake. It's going to take a mistake like that from those first gear cars for anybody else like O'Donoghue, Wasserman, Osterman, Evans to have a chance. Trevor bends loose off the top.
Trevor's had a handful of this car. He's actually come down and kind of right there on entry. The preload of the car can. Oh, now
there's a hit.
Now Ryan O'Donoghue gets in the back. And everyone's still pointing in the right direction. That's going to jostle the front up a little bit.
Yeah, and it's going to take a minute for.
Oh, and now they're wrecking Wasserman.
Wasserman hard in the wall. Hard.
Wasserman is in the wall.
Hard impact for Brian Wasserman. So the caution has happened. Now we get to answer the second part. Who made it through?
Well, David Dunwoody was fortunate enough to be underneath that. Greg Evans is underneath it. Colby Pierce, Trevor Beans is barely involved in this. Ryan O'Donoghue gets through. It seems to be just Osterman and Brian Wasserman. This happened earlier in the event with Vance Fisher. It's just there's this transition here in the quad over where these cars are getting into a place where the driver on the outside may be anticipating that the car underneath him is going to go lower, and that may not necessarily be the case. They're just trying to follow the car in front of them and keep an even line with the car in front of them. And so the car on top, not knowing what the one on the bottom is going to do when they come off or go in through for entry into one, they make contact because they're really vying for the same piece of racetrack.
Yeah, and that's a tough break for Brian Wasserman. He had such a great day. Same for Justin Osterman. Both of those drivers have punched out of their automobiles. And the question now becomes, Sam, is this going to be a natural green-white checker, or is it going to be the iRacing green-white checker?
It is the iRacing green-white checkered.
All right.
It's all that they've already posted that it will be the race led green-white checker.
All right, so we're going to have a green-white checker to decide it. It is one attempt, correct, Sam?
I thought, again, it's funny that we mention this every week, but I think it's unlimited attempts.
All right, so Sam has homework. He's going to check. I can't do it, so Sam is going to have to check the rules in the session and see how many green-white checkers we do have available to us. I thought it was one.
I do not see a limit and I'll tell you why. Because when you're in the server, and the GWC flag comes up, if there is a determined number, it will give you a 1/1, or it will give you 1/2 of however many attempts that you have. And if I'm not mistaken, no number means it's unlimited.
I am told that Ryan O'Donoghue did take fuel only that in the first stage, and
now we know Greg Evans, beyond a shadow of a doubt, took tires.
Yeah. So there you go. Evans and O'Donoghue both pulled down, and they're gonna take some tires. So that answers that question.
In the meantime, since you have put me to task, I will do the homework. I'll be right back.
There you go, Sam. So there we see O'Donoghue. Some of these guys, they want to be in the back now. Greg Evans is going to stay out, but O'Donoghue, Colby Pierce, etc., they're going to pull down pit road, and this is almost a voluntary EOL at this point.
All right, Mark, I have the information that we've been kind of discussing, and it is unlimited green-white checkers.
Unlimited green-white checkers it is. Greg Evans, Ryan O'Donohue. As we've said, we do have multiple cars that have pitted. Evans is 6th. O'Donohue is 8th. And so we have that storyline. Colby Pierce also pitted. Don't know if that was to fix damage or if that was to, well, he was on in his box for 1:15. So he had significant damage to be fixed. Unlimited green-white checkers, attempt number 1. Barney has the green flag in the air. If they make it back around to the start-finish line, the next flag will end the race.
Oh, well, got a little tire spin here. Greg Evans gives himself a little bit of room, just simply because he knows that the cars with older tires may have some tire spin. It's going to be really difficult to make up these spots, but with fresh tires, he could very well do so.
He just can't.
Shout out to Eric Corder, who has actually raced up here all night long and been able to spare himself what looks like maybe a good finish.
Yes, he
now
has.
Evans has moved himself up to the bottom line into 3rd place here.
Here comes Michael Moquin. They're going to come off at turn number 4.
If he gets this top line, it's going to be on.
He is going to grab the top line. Jason Heaney's going to stay loyal to his teammate. White flag in the air. Next flag will end the race. Evans is going to climb to the high side. He's got help from Joseph Klein. He's got help from Ryan O'Donohue. The first gear drivers.
He should get a run here on the backstretch.
He's looking at Michael Moquin.
Oh, no, they touch. They touch. Hey, Heaney gets into Moquin. Moquin gets into Evans. That opens the door for Joseph Klein.
The race is not over. Trevor Benz is spinning. Now O'Donoghue's spinning.
Joseph Klein is going to win this race tonight. In a crash-filled last lap, Joseph Klein pulls that number 7 across the start-finish and is the lone survivor of this Atlanta race.
Literally the lone survivor. If you look out the gearbox of Joseph Klein, those are the remaining automobiles following him. There are...
Wow, what a boneyard. My heavens, I cannot believe that.
There are no other cars left other than Joseph Klein. And let's watch the last lap. He crossed to get the white flag in 5th. That's Michael Moquin.
Unbelievable.
That's Michael Moquin leading it.
I think Heaney was just trying to give him a push, and it just unsettled the car enough. It just unsettled it enough that it just moved him around, and he just loses the car. It's just so much on older tires.
Yeah, here's what we're looking at.
He didn't hit him square. He hit him on the right rear.
Yeah, and it kind of hooks him up. And so now we're looking at Andy Dunwoody's going to come back. Eric Corder gets cleaned out. Greg Evans. Dunwoody gets in the back, and you can see the dent in the back of the 3. So that's going to take care of the remaining cars, and all by his lonesome, Joseph Klein brings it home the winner.
What? Oh, my heavens. I said it was a boneyard, but it's more like a junkyard at the end of this race. There were cars everywhere. Michael Moquin was able, after all of what was going on the backstretch, he was able to hit the inside wall, keep the car pointed in the right direction, and then he was able to drive that damaged race car to a second-place finish, 8 seconds behind the leader.
Yes, he was. Joseph Klein is your winner. Michael Moquin second. Colby Pierce will round out your podium. David Dunwoody, Ryan O'Donohue, they'll be credited with top 5 finishes. Trevor Benz, Eric Corder, 6th and 7th. Greg Evans is 8th. Jason Heaney, the reason he shows no margin is because he took the white but not the checkered. And so he has no margin. He is simply the last car on the lead lap. James Hodgson, how about that? 1 lap down in 10th. Talk about perseverance after he had an early issue.
Yeah. Big shout out to him for that.
For certain sure. Sean Merriman 11th. Kendall Paul is 12th. Brian Wasserman, Justin Osterman. Say those names 3 times fast. 13th and 14th. Keith Graham. Donald Green. He was involved in an early mess, not of his own making. He soldiers home 16th. What a great run for Donald. Barry Seaman is 17th. Caleb Jones, Lee Campbell, Corey Palermo round out the top 20. In 21st, Troy Carricker, Edwin James, Michael Kirk, Vance Fisher. All of these drivers did not finish. Rick Fallis, Corey Crandall, Brian Sharp, Mark Owlett, John Hutchins, and Dylan Godnez.
Greg Evans, I actually just spoke with Greg just for a moment. He felt so strongly that he had made the right calls. He had just, he had planned it out, and everything seemed to be playing out into his hand. But just the racing gods were not going to smile on him tonight. But kudos to Joseph Klein for surviving all that late race chaos and pulling that number 7 into victory lane. Just amazing. That was exciting last lap, which we knew it would be.
It is indeed. And speaking of exciting, we're going to have an excited man right here. Colby Pierce brings it home third. Colby, welcome back to the podium. That was a wild last lap. Tell us what you saw and how you managed to get it home in third.
One word for what I saw: carnage.
That's
what I saw.
It was indeed. You were up front most of the night, though. You had a pretty good run going. How was the racing tonight? A lot of guys were complaining loose during practice. How was it? How was it in the race?
Yeah, it was loose in practice, but in the race, if you managed to actually let off, and I think it was a little bit better since you were in a bigger group of cars, it wasn't so loose, but there was points kind of after 10 laps in with your tires where you did start to get loose, and it was unbearable. Like, I did see a couple guys get loose up front, in front of me, so I kind of knew, okay, maybe I need to slow down just a little bit so I don't get loose and get myself in a wreck. Unfortunately, earlier I got myself in a wreck by putting myself in the wall, collected a teammate of mine. Hate for that for the team. But I'm just glad to be up in the podium once again at a super speedway. Finishing in the grass almost again. Kind of looking back at Daytona in a way. Kind of a throwback.
There you go. Sam, what do you have for Colby this evening?
Oh, Colby, we're really excited that you had a great finish tonight under these conditions. Just to be able to survive is bragging rights in itself, especially finishing on the lead lap. But you mentioned just about an earlier incident where you got into the wall and then of course Osterman was trying to make a maneuver to get around you, and then of course mayhem kind of ensued after that. But what's going through your mind as you're trying to get that damage repaired and just thinking about what the car's going to do, how it's going to handle, and then know there at the end, because clearly you could see the damage that you were still sporting on the car. What's going through your mind as you're going through the last laps and just trying to soldier a good finish?
Yeah, so I was told not to worry about the damage because boss man, Andy, he had been running with 12 minutes of damage, and he was still up front. His rear end was completely knocked out of it, and he was just telling me, he's like, even though I still have this, you have like 2 minutes, you're fine. Like, you have nothing compared to what everyone else has out here who has already been involved in a wreck. Kendall, he didn't have a hood for majority of it. I don't know if he ever got it back.
He did not.
He did not. Okay. No. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just glad to come out of this race kind of in one piece. I have all my body parts on the car, but it is unfortunate for most of the team as they got caught up in a lot of other wrecks earlier in the race. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely interesting. I'm glad we're done with Atlanta for the rest of the year.
There you go, Colby. Well, you know what the lines in Days of Thunder are, right? He looks at the car and he says, "How about that? A side we don't have to fix." The chief mechanic kicks the side of the car and breaks it. So don't want you to jinx it, Colby. But before you do that, friends, family, sponsor, shout-outs, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I want to thank all my teammates over at Dark Horse Performance. Then I want to thank Blackmagic Studios for the amazing paint that I was rocking on the car today. SKP, Storm Tracker 78, No Pass Media, Moza, Admin Box, P1 Broadcasting, Archway Industrial, Mains, Auto Repair. Just want to thank all of them. Without their support, it would have probably been a little bit of a tougher year, but just glad to bring them a podium car, even though it may not look pretty.
All that matters is the result, brother. You can fix them and repaint them. Congratulations.
I'll tell you what looks pretty. That third place trophy is what looks pretty.
That's right. Keep
Yeah,
going.
we'll put that on the car. Tell them to look at that, not the car itself.
There you go.
There you go.
Keep going
It'll be
fast.
the shiniest part you got.
Keep going fast and having fun, Colby.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. You have a good one.
Great
That
race.
is Colby Pierce. We are going to bring in Michael Moquin. Michael, Michael Moquin, you got Mark and Sam in the P1 broadcasting booth. I'll tell you what, my man, the end of that was wild, to say the least. What did you see on the last lap, and how did you bring it home second?
That is a very good question. After coming to the white, and we saw Greg on the outside, we were kind of worried about him. And when we got out at 2, I just got a bad push from the 9, which got me loose, and the 9 got up into Greg, and that's what shot Greg down into me. Which I was like, okay, cool, whatever. I didn't get DNF this time around, so I'm happy with wherever I finish. And then Calamity continued in 3 and 4, and when I was like, well, I'll just kind of limp this back to the start finish line, and that way I finish where I finish. And I just see bodies. I just see bodies and cars everywhere. It was like a scene out of Final Destination. And I was like, well, I'm just gonna put my foot to the floor and just go. My wheel's just shaking. My left front's all messed up. My wheel's just shaking. So I was like, well, cool, whatever. It looks like I'm gonna finish top 10. And then when I crossed the line, it's at P2. I was like, oh, well, that's better than I expected. So, but yeah, I was happy wherever I finished this time around because I was able to stay. I was able to stay and actually finish the race and not get taken out before stage 2. So, unlike the last time we were here, week 2, got taken out in stage 2 and wasn't my first DNF. So it was like, whatever. So, but yeah, that's how it happened coming to the end.
Well, Michael, I said earlier in the race that I actually called you the specialist when it comes to these speedway tracks because you really you've got a knack for these particular venues where you come in and you really want to run out front, and you've told us that in prior interviews that's your preferred place to be at these racetracks. But in this particular instance, you did get out front quite a lot, and you've led a lot of laps tonight. But I also noticed that there were times where that car became such a handful, and then it was all you could do to catch that car, and you would fall back quite a few positions and have to work your way back up there. So can you just give a little bit of what your mindset might have been during those times that that you were losing control of the car, those great saves that you had, but you knew, oh man, I just lost all this track position?
Like you said, it's one of those super speedways is kind of like it's a crapshoot. And I mean, you said it best. Just staying out front and ahead of 90% of that issues does help you typically win the race at, say, Daytona, Atlanta, and Daytona. But tonight, I mean, with all these updates, the bottom was running so good for a while, and then like midway through the stages, it just got loose. I don't know if it's just because we were running too wide and just the air got me, which I think is probably what happened more than anything. Because tires were still fine, but yeah, I mean, I was surprised the stage 1 because I was up on the high line. I thought I was going to get on the wall or somebody was going to collect me, but luckily everybody avoided me and I was just able to drop back and I was
get it to the apron. Yeah, it was a fantastic piece of driving. Yeah.
And just I got back in there and was able to finish in the top 10. Actually, I think I finished 5th or 6th in stage 1. And I mean, it's just being consistent was the thing. And then the same thing happened in stage 2. Just the car just got loose midway through the run, and luckily that time I was able to save it and kind of stay right there. And then obviously both times cautions came out and I was able to get back up to the field. So I don't know. It was kind of weird. The car drove completely different than it has in the past. And I don't know if it's just with the recent updates, especially to Atlanta, now that it has lights. But yeah, I mean, it was a little bit of a handful in the first two stages, but in that last stage, I mean, we ran the same amount essentially a stint before that caution came out, and then the caution came out, and we up until the end there ran it almost the same amount of time, and it felt comfortable. Like I don't know what changed in 60 laps.
Other than
in stage three,
track temp and things like that.
yeah. And the track temp didn't even change that much. It would maybe drop at the start of the race. It was like 87, and then it dropped that. It got up to 88, and then it dropped back down to 87, 86, and then by the end of the race, it was 83. So I mean, it wasn't much of a change, but I think there at the end, as it was cooling down, it was able to stay gripped because I was able to stay in the throttle the entire time. With no issues. So I don't know. It's one of those things that's nature's a mystery, you know?
Well, you've been to class. If nothing else, you've been to class.
Yes, sir. And thank you so much.
Something new to learn.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Michael, for joining us. As always, here at P1, friends, family, sponsor, shout outs. The floor is yours, sir.
First off, thank y'all for the amazing broadcasts throughout the season. Secondly, First Gear Racing, obviously, for putting the team together. Under Industries, veteran-owned company, allowing me to continue to put the name on the car. And even if I don't perform the way I should, they still stick with us no matter what. And then, yeah, just thankful for everybody that put us in the work behind the scenes, AMA, as well as y'all. Doing y'all's homework on everybody, and yeah, I mean, I'll keep it short, sweet, to the point tonight.
Very good. Well, thank you so much, Michael, for joining in. Keep going fast and having fun, buddy.
Yes, sir.
That is Michael Mokman. We're going to bring in Joseph Klein for the Winner's Circle interview. Joseph, you got Mark and Sam up in the P1 broadcasting booth. I saw you had a visit from Matty Wagner there. I hear you're going to be running some Indy cars on Wednesday nights. But I got to ask you, my man, you come off of turn 4, you look in the rearview mirror, and there's nobody there. What's that feeling like?
I'm kind of speechless, honestly. I was hoping that we would be I didn't want to be 3 wide, but at least 2 wide coming to the start-finish line. But, yeah, normally I am not out in front when the white flag drops, down the back at these Speedway or Super Speedway races. So, another green-white checkered comes out and you re-rack them and try them again. That was not the case here because we took the white. So I actually did like a baby lift, and then I looked down. Trevor was to my inside. Ryan was giving me a push, and I was like, oh, we got to keep going.
Yeah, Joseph, I was just incredibly excited to see you get this great win tonight. Considering all the carnage that was by the end of the race. I've noticed over the last few weeks that you're continuing to work on your craft, and you're getting faster, and you're making your presence known. And so this win really solidifies a lot of that logic that I'm throwing out there week in and week out. Can you just give us a little insight about what you're doing to better your racing and to get into these positions? The old adage is that sometimes to win you have to put yourself in a position to win. And so can you just give us a little insight of what you've been doing just to work on your craft and to put yourself in those spots?
Smooth is fast, just a lot more patience and discipline, and really thinking through, like, if I take this run, where am I going to end up here, or coming into the next corner? If I push hard here, how is it going to affect my tires at the end of this run? And I don't know, just being more disciplined and having a lot better race strategy, being patient, and kind of you it's like the opposite of what a racer would want to think. You just think go fast all the time, but a lot of the times it's just patience and just hanging out and waiting for stuff to come to you. So that's really just been it for me lately, is just let it come to me. And finally got one with you guys, and I couldn't be happier. So
Well, we couldn't be happier for you either, Joseph. It did come to you tonight. You drove it right into victory lane, and because you're there, you get the mic. Friends, family, sponsor, shout-outs. The floor is yours, my man.
like always, just give a shout out to First Gear Racing and you guys in the broadcast booth here for putting on what I can only assume would probably have been an excellent show. Lots of concurrent viewers. Hopefully, the racing is growing and getting bigger and bigger for the channel. Black Magic Studios, Sim Magic Track Racer, and I definitely think my old man up above was had a smile on his face watching that one. So.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Joseph, for joining us. Congratulations on the win. Go celebrate, buddy. Keep going fast and having fun.
Great job, Joseph. Great job.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Yes, sir. And that is Joseph Klein. And Sam, we've seen you and I have seen some wild stuff in the AMA. I don't think we've seen a race as wild as that one yet, where we only had one car, across the finish line under power. But
there was no car in the field that did not have incident points.
That is a truly interesting stat. There were only 2 cars in the top 5 that had less than 10 incident points. Klein was 6.
And Joseph Klein was the lowest.
Yeah,
he was the lowest at 6.
Yeah, he was the lowest at 6. Ryan O'Donoghue had 7. But an entertaining race nonetheless. And if you think that this was entertaining, you should join us tomorrow night. The trucks are going to be back 8:20 Eastern, 8 for pre-race, 8:35 for the race. And Sam, the trucksters are going to turn right and left. They're going to go to Lime Rock, and that has all the makings of a barn burner tomorrow night. So we do look forward to bringing you that one. We also would like to extend.
Yeah. I think if you're going to watch, if you like short track racing and you like road course racing,
it's a short
Lime
road
Rock
course.
is your place.
Yeah, it's a short road course, right?
It really is. It is your kind of racetrack. If you like those 2 venues and you like that type of racing, that's what Lime Rock presents to you, and it can be a lot of fun.
Yes, it most certainly can. And speaking of fun, we also need to offer our thanks. We want to thank all of the people that make this possible, all the drivers, the sponsors, the fans. We had another awesome crowd tonight. But really, the people that make this possible, the military, the police, the firemen, the EMTs, the nurses that do the work in the emergency room at night so that we can sleep safe and sound in our beds. We thank you, Sam. Let's take a 22-hour break, 21-hour break, and we'll see these fine people tomorrow night.
I'm going to go down to the garage area and get some extra tin because there's plenty of it there. Good night, everybody.